Grace and peace, everybody. We are back. You saw the thumbnail. You saw the title. This is a lunchtime shout out. And you know what? It looks like I'm glitching. Uh-oh, I'm in the matrix. Uh-oh, looks like my video is in the matrix, y'all. I apologize. Hopefully it stopped doing that. I think it's caught up now. Okay. Anyway, you saw the thumbnail. You saw the title. You know what we're doing. We're about to talk about Jason Whitlock, not Jason Whitaker, but Jason Whitlock, and his assessment of Candace Owens and the foolishness that we know as the bride of Charlie. It is what it is at this point in the game. It is what it is. If you can't see what's going on, then I don't know really what to tell you. But you don't have to fear, because even though I'm glitching out over here, I'm not alone today. I have a great guest that I think you all will definitely enjoy meeting, and it's Lisa Knows. How are you, young lady?
Hello, hello.
How's it going today?
Good morning, everyone. Well, I guess it's afternoon for you guys. Sorry, it's still morning here.
Oh, we got like 32 seconds, but yes, it is afternoon here. Shout out for you. Shout out to you for sure. How are you doing today?
Good.
Wonderful. I appreciate it. All right, we are going to look at, and I sent you the video of Jason Whitlock's Harmony episode discussing Candace Owens. Do you want to give me like your overview from the start, or do you want to anything particular that really stuck out to you?
No, let's just jump into it. I didn't get to finish the entire thing.
I got you.
I got through most of it, so I think I got like the main bullet points, but yeah,
let's get at it then. If you don't mind, everybody, shout out to everybody who's jumped into the best live chat. Green hearts in the chat when you can hear. Let's get at it.
Strange thing happening right now where a young woman with absolutely zero professional qualifications has been inserted at the top of a charity organization that pulled in over $250 million last year. And the media is telling you that you have no right to know or to ask anything about her. The argument being made is that her husband was murdered. Therefore, she has a right to assume the position. And despite the fact that Turning Point USA is a literal charity, and therefore it's not even have to pay tax on that $250 million plus or pay tax on the alleged future billions that it's due to rake in thanks to a deal with a man named Pierre, these talking heads are claiming that the public simply wanting to ensure the person who is running that organization is, I don't know, at a bare minimum, moderately honest about who she says she is. No, that inquiry makes you a monster.
That was Candace Owens yesterday on the first episode of her Promise series, The Bride of Charlie, an expose, a series of podcast shows she's going to do, unpacking information that she believes tells a broader picture of Erica Kirk, Charlie Kirk's widow, the now CEO of Turning Point USA. I watched it yesterday. I watched it again this morning to reconfirm my thoughts on what Candace did yesterday. And I have to say, what Candace put together after a slow start, it was a slow start. I texted John Hadley after the first 10 minutes and was like, what is Candace doing? She's reading some email from some woman that I don't really care about. I read the email a day or two before, after the trailer that she released. I was like, this is crazy. Why are we starting out reading off some no-name woman's tweet over Twitter? I was like, wow, that's crazy. And I was like, this isn't going to go well. If we're starting out with someone's tweet, and I'm sorry if I said email earlier, but if we're starting out with some random woman's tweet, my expectations, just sank considerably. Well, once she moved on past that, and you had to have some discipline to stick with it, it got very interesting and very compelling. And it actually, and the reason why I started by playing what Candace said off the very top was like, hey, look, TPUSA has raised hundreds of millions of dollars. It's a major political force in American politics. And we have a right to wonder, like, who is this CEO replacing Charlie Kirk? And I've said from the very beginning, the fact that she's Charlie Kirk's widow doesn't mean, and that Charlie Kirk wanted her to replace him, doesn't mean that's where the buck stops with me. Well, since Charlie wanted it, as I've said, there's a bunch of things that I want that have been dead wrong. There's a bunch of things that a lot of...
Okay, I'm waiting for him to get to a point where I can stop, but I'm just going to go ahead and jump on this right now. There's a presumption that, and they create this narrative, and feel free, Lisa, to correct me. They create this idea that Charlie Kirk's body hit the ground And Erica came through with bows and elbows and kicking heels to get to the front of the line to be the one to run the ship once his body hit the ground. Do you feel like that is the way that they're positioning it? Do you feel that way?
Yeah, I mean, even Candace says, she made herself CEO. Like, she says that statement all the time. That's not true. That's not accurate. The board voted her in as CEO. This is not something, again, when you have these types of nonprofits, this is not just a singular decision that's being made. There are multiple people that are going to be involved in a decision like that, right?
Right.
Also, they keep saying that Turning Point is a $1 billion organization. They are not. They are a multi-million-dollar
For sure.
organization, but they are not $1 billion. Even Jason in his breakdown, he corrects Candace Owens. You notice he says million, not billion, because she's wrong. Which again, you shouldn't be the one correcting the journalist here. She should be correct to begin with. Why are we doing her job for her? But at the end of the day, yeah, it's just there's so many problems here because this is not a decision that Erica would just be able to make on her own. There's a lot of people that are involved in something like that.
And let me and feel free in the best live chat on the internet. Feel free to chime in. Who best would know Charlie's inner thoughts about an organization that Charlie started? Would it be me? Would it be Candace? Or would it be the woman that he laid beside for the last 6-7 years, almost every night? Who would it be? And by the way, we actually have Charlie saying, if anything happens to me, I want Erica to take over Turning Point.
Right. Like,
so it's not
literally
like
on camera saying
he
that.
said it.
But this is one of the things that I said when I was talking to Zach, like when we did our debate on this, because he said, Erica is not like a qualified person for this. And I said, Zach, you're a married man. I've been married for 15 years. When Erica talks about how she was Charlie's vault, absolutely. My husband is my vault and I am his. Like literally, as like there's no secrets between us. We share every aspect of our lives with each other. And that's how it should be, right? And so I was like, there are things that she knows about Charlie that we will never know and shouldn't know, right? There are things that she should know that we shouldn't know. But at the end of the day, she's even said like she has journals going like 10 years into the future with Charlie's plans and all of his ideas and thoughts and the things that he wanted to do for the company and where he wanted it to go and all of these things that he would just be pouring out to her all the time. So yes, I do think that she would be qualified or is more qualified in that realm than any of us would ever be.
No, I agree with you 100%. And I'm just going to check. They told me that your audio might be a little low. So go ahead and say something else, Lisa.
Can you guys hear me? Am I good now? No. Check.
You sound good in my ears, but apparently they said you sound low on their end, but I apologize. But shout out to the vault. Let's shout out to the vault. Put vault in the chat. We got vaults up in here. I like that. That's a great example.
That's what she said. And I'm like, that's the perfect term for it. As someone who's been married for 15 years, that's exactly how I would describe it too. Yeah, for sure.
I love it. Shout out to the vaults. Okay, let's get back to Jason Whitlock. Let's see what he's got to say.
CEOs want that have been dead wrong. And after watching Candace yesterday in episode 1 reveal things that raise questions about all the way down to like, who is Erica Kirk's mother? And who is Erica Kirk's?
The fact that you're even asking that question is comical because y'all don't know who Candace's mother is. Like the same amount of scrutiny is not applied in the scriptures say, like, be careful how you judge because the way that you judge will be the way that you will be judged. And we go ahead.
Matt Walsh, did you watch his?
Sure did.
He did a really good job. I thought that he did a phenomenal breakdown, very thorough, very intelligent on his, he's just very good at expressing how he feels, right? And his thoughts. And he said, no other CEO is getting this type of scrutiny.
None.
Half of us don't even know the names of who the CEOs are of the majority of the businesses that we frequent or purchase from or any of these things. And here we are putting Erica through this insane social test that we would never do to anybody else. So like, where in the world, like all of these people that have the audacity to think that they can like run this woman through these paces, it's just really sad and really sick.
Like, let me give you an example real quick to mess up everybody right here. I think it's fair to say that everybody has a smartphone. Do you know whether or not the president, CEO, chairman of the board of the company that put together that cell phone that you have is not compromised, is not a member of Mossad, that he went to a special school, that she was experimented on by MK Ultra? You don't know that. And I think it's fair to say that that would be far more wide reaching than anything going on with TPUSA.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't you go ahead and tell me who is the president, CEO, and chairman of the board of your cell phone company? Because they're probably listening to you right now. There we go. Let's get it.
Family, and someone from Erica Kirk's family that she talks about all the time has deep roots, deep connections to Utah Valley University, where Charlie Kirk was assassinated. That anyway, episode 1 for me was very fascinating and raises questions about the judgment of all the people that have run out and called Candace Owens evil, demonic, satanic, pure evil, whatever. It's like, no, what we saw yesterday was not pure evil.
I'm sorry. And I'm going to say this real quick. My name is Jason. I will say that this gentleman right here is biblically illiterate. And I understand people are going to get in their feelings about it. And you're perfectly fine. Email management, dearwokec@gmail.com. Virgil Walker is a friend of the channel. He is going to be on this panel in a second. Virgil knows how I feel about Jason Whitlock. So I'm not going to sugarcoat it at all. Jason Whitlock is biblically illiterate. And the fact that he could sit there and watch Candace's antics and say that they weren't evil is all you need to know about this man's discernment. This man's discernment is as bad as that 3-day-old sushi at the sketchy gas station down in the seedy side of town. That's exactly what we're talking about. This is the kind of discernment. So I'll say it in case anybody else doesn't want to. Jason Whitlock is a fool. And that this dude on the screen is a fool. A whole fool. Bona fide, stirred up in the pot fool.
Actually was, and as a journalist, and I don't say this as a brag, but I've won some awards for journalism, major awards for investigative journalism that changed narratives about what was going on with the Jenna 6. Look up that case in Jenna, Louisiana. Investigations that expose corruption in law enforcement as it relates to a college basketball star and a stabbing that he was involved in. I've been a journalist, and that looked like yesterday journalism to me. That someone has ascended to the CEO perch of a major political organization in America, and that person is worthy of scrutiny, and Candace has done some worthy scrutinizing of Erica Kirk. That if people want to stand on and say that what we saw yesterday, what Candace revealed yesterday is evil, demonic, and blah, blah, you just don't like journalism.
No.
So
okay,
that's
are you even going to, like, for real? Are we go ahead.
I you just don't like journalism. First of all, to even call this journalism is your standard must be in the basement, my friend, because like, what are we even like assigning as journalism these days? Because if you're considering what Candace is doing as journalism, then I mean, she is like the Inquirer and the Star magazine, maybe, of journalism, right. But like, no, this is not journalism. And he's talking about all of these like awards and things that like journalists have won. There's a reason why the mainstream media hasn't picked up like anything that Candace is pushing out, because it's garbage. There's a reason why Tyler Robinson's defense team hasn't called her for anything, because they know that it's all garbage, right? Like, nobody in the real world is taking any of this seriously. Yeah, wow.
No, and I think you are right on the money. And just because you have bona fides as a former classroom teacher, I have bona fides. And to use those bona fides and to say, well, because I was a classroom teacher, therefore this is good education. Or therefore that's appealing to a false authority, sir. Just because maybe you did win some awards in journalism, that doesn't mean that what she's doing is journalism. He has that poster of Adele right there over his shoulder. I think most people would probably agree that Adele is an accomplished singer, but he also has Al Green over in the bottom corner as well. I think most people would say that Al Green is a better singer than her. I wouldn't say that Adele is trash by any means or measures. I would say that, however, I would say that my singing is not on par with either of them at all. So just to say that, hey, because I have these posters over here, I'm able to discern good music. I don't think that's a good case, because he might say that Candace is a good singer. Would y'all agree with that? No. So stop it. All right, let's go. Give him a shot.
My take, and I'll have a few others, but we're going to bring Virgil, Shamika, and Anthony into this conversation. They all watched it too. And so I'll start by asking each one of these, Virgil, Shamika, and Anthony, just for their initial impressions. And then I'll play some additional clips and we'll discuss some of the things that Candace revealed, and I'll unpack a few more of my thoughts. Virgil, Shamika, Anthony, welcome to the show. Virgil, you have been the strongest critic of Candace Owens.
Rightly so.
And I don't say that to put you on the defensive or anything, but I just want to start with you, because I think you went into this far more skeptical than certainly Shamika and I did. What did you think about episode 1?
Well, I watched it begrudgingly and walked through the whole thing. I'll be honest with you. I can't wait to hear more of your take on it. By the time I got done, I thought, this is a nothing burger. Like, this is a joke. Like, like, you mean to tell me this is what she has? This is the smoking gun that she's going to stretch across who knows how many episodes, and people are going to have to wait to watch this drip out. Like, you know, you've got documents that have been signed or missigned, or dates that are not correct. I mean, I started thinking about this for my own self personally. I know that I was born on November 29th, but I also know that there's a document in Utica, New York, where I was born, that says that I was actually born on December 9th. There's a snafu. And so as I watched this drama unfold, I thought, you know, God forbid something happened to me where I come into something and someone goes back and finds the document and then puts it out there and says, you know, he says he was born on November 29th, but he was actually born, another document says, December 9th. That just makes me feel weird. Doesn't that make you feel weird? Something's wrong with that. There's a problem here. These documents don't do that. Like,
I love Virgil's impersonation of Candace is kind of spot on the money there. That wasn't bad, sir. Man. That was not bad at all. And I'm finding it interesting because Virgil's doing something that I don't think Jason is going to do, which is deal with the actual facts of the matter. This isn't a feelings vibe type of scenario. Okay, dates are wrong. And if you know anybody who's dealt with any form of city government or anything of that nature, that happens all the time. Good gracious.
Super common.
Right. If you've ever bought a house, my goodness, in the morning, you get to the bottom of that stack of 300 signatures, and all of a sudden you find out that there was a date wrong, and you got to start all over again. And they got trashed the whole thing and re-signed everything because the date was wrong on one page. That's crazy work. But it happens all the time, though. Go ahead.
Well, when it comes to court paperwork and specifically, they don't fix it, though. That's the thing. And so all of these people that, yes, are acting like because Erica's date of birth was wrong on her parents' divorce decree, that this is some type of a smoking gun. This is not how this works. So I worked in record retrieval for a long time, and we did litigation cases, for lawyers. And when I very first started that job, I was noticing that stuff was wrong. And I was like, oh my gosh, these dates of birth are wrong. Like, their marriage date is wrong. I went to my boss, like, freaking out. And I was like, are we going to have to fix all of this? Like, what's going on? And she was like, Lisa, she was like, no, we are going to fix all of this. She's like, this is very common and this happens all the time. And she explained it to me like this, and I'm going to explain it to you guys the same way. She said, paralegals and secretaries that are working for attorneys' offices, they are pumping out so much paperwork for the courts. You think about, they file hundreds of motions a day for the court system. And if they had to cross every T and dot every I, we would never get anywhere. She was like, the court system is already so slow. And if they had to make sure that every single clerical thing was perfect, we would never, the court system would completely slow down and it would never progress, basically, because they would just be fixing clerical errors all the time. So basically, the court will move forward. The only time that they will change a date specifically is if it is found that it was added incorrectly to try to deter the court, or to try to, like, for nefarious purposes, right? Like, you wanted to throw off the court, like, intentionally. That's the only time that they're going to address, like, your date of birth being wrong or something like that. Otherwise, they keep it moving. They keep it pushing because they don't have time to deal with all of that. So when it comes to marriage certificates and divorce decrees and custody papers and all of that stuff is wrong on that all the time. This is not a big deal. Candace is trying to and the thing that Candace said was that her mother put her date of birth wrong. Erica's mother put her date of birth wrong on that paperwork. Erica's mother would not have been writing her own court documents, okay? Her attorney's office would have been writing the court documents. So a paralegal, or again, a secretary or somebody like that in her attorney's office would have been typing up or writing up that paperwork. Erica's mother is not writing her own court documents, okay, guys? That's just absolutely absurd and ridiculous, and that's not how that works. Also, if Erica wanted to lie about her date of birth, what is 2 days going to do for her in lying about her date of birth? Really and truly, November 20th to November 22nd, how is that going to be much of an advantage? Also, you need to remember when her parents divorced, she was 10 years old. Okay, so she's 10 years old doing this. Like, what?
I don't know. I don't know how old I know how old I was when my mom and dad divorced. I have no idea when the date was. So if I had to put on a legal document, it would be wrong. I'm pretty sure of it. I would have to, I don't know. But even more than that, like, the fact that Jason Whitlock is looking like this is something really important, groundbreaking, what does this mean? I guarantee you, if we looked in Jason Whitlock's history, he's got something that's wrong. He's got some file that's wrong. Every woman in this chat could probably tell me, I know how old every woman in this chat is. They're 29 years old.
Yeah.
Every woman is 29 years old. Every woman. Now, you might be celebrating the 50th anniversary of your 29th birthday, but you're 29 years old. We all know that. I mean, that's just a given. Like, what are we talking about here, people?
Literally, I just want every single person to go to Google and literally put in, is it common on court paperwork for dates of birth and marriage dates to be incorrect? And let me tell you what it's going to say. Yes, it's very common. This happens all the time. It's a 5-second Google search, which again, the journalist, the star reward journalist should have been able to tell you that, but she doesn't because it doesn't fit her narrative. So she omits facts and information because she wants you to go down a certain path, and she's making sure that you do that.
Let me also add Jason Whitlock, because he gave all those bona fides. He should also be able to say, yeah, this really isn't a big deal.
Right.
This really isn't a big deal, but let's let him go. Let's go.
I just feel weird. I just feel weird, and then runs to the next thing. I thought, if people are drinking this down, this is really bad. This is really bad. That's my initial thoughts.
Anthony, what's your takeaway?
I'm taking away that Virgil and I might be related, because Nothing Burger was literally the first thing I said after I got through watching it. The one area about journalism that I truly respect is that the purist and the pure journalist are after truth. They are trying to pursue truth. And where that kind of bleeds over into the faith spectrum is that's what we support our foundation, everything with, is truth. But the other area of journalism that I'm not so much a fan of is that sometimes it may be led by presupposition. It may be led by the hunch and so because of our nature, we may have a hunch and we will search after what we think we want something to be versus what it is. So we do know that Candace does have an axe to grind. And so how much of her perspective, how much of her axe to grind towards TPU, SA, and all of that, How much does that filter into this? And like Virgil said, a lot of the things that she brought up brings forth the mood of skepticism. Let's question all this stuff. This doesn't seem right. Here's an error here, an error here, an error here. This person's called this person's called that. And I think maybe what if this? I don't know. I'm just saying. I'm just asking questions. I don't know. Like, okay, we got the mood of skepticism, but did we present any hard facts that say, okay, this is what this is? And from a biblical,
I gotta stop for a second. Jason Whitlock's face is everything I need. His face, you can tell he is not happy with these two responses. And the fact that Candace just weaponizes questions. She just, again, I like that he called it out. Like, she has an axe to grind. So therefore, that does move the way that she addresses this quote unquote journalism. This is where her qualifications really need to be scrutinized, because she herself has an axe to grind. I'm right there with Anthony. What do you say?
Yeah, I mean, so far these two gentlemen are the only ones making sense on this panel, but we'll see where it goes from here.
Oh, it's gonna go downhill. We know.
Perspective. The scriptures warn us to judge a matter before we have heard the facts. I didn't hear any facts,
right,
but I do hear some conclusion that we know that she feels like there was something awry here. Are there errors in these documents? Are there questionable things? If you look at anything more than once with a scrutinizing perspective, you might find question in it as well. But I didn't see anything solid, just a bunch of hunch, just a bunch of question. Does Candace have the right to do that? Absolutely. Does TPUSA have the right to be scrutinized as a nonprofit that has received hundreds of millions of dollars? Sure. But the question doesn't necessarily mean that there's guilt.
I love it.
Anthony just said about presuppositions, because I think that's critical here. There's a presupposition. Here's what's happening. Society and culture do not trust institutions. We don't trust narratives that we've been given by media outlets. We don't trust what the FBI has said. We don't trust what the CIA has said. And so what Candace is doing is she is weaponizing that mistrust for the purpose of her own agenda. She has the backdrop of Charlie's murder. And so every question that she raises is not simply, she has every right to examine a CEO of a company or organization. But you do that without the presupposition that this person is connected to the murder of her husband. That's the backdrop of every question that she raises with these documents that she finds where there's any kind of error. Free and fair journalism is going to look at, hey, she was born on this date, here's what's going on. Candace's very tone establishes the presupposition that something's awry here. So she prepares the people that there's already problems. So there's not the fair, here's who she was, here's what she's about, in fairness, but let me just present the facts in a nondescript way without the presupposition, and let you, the viewer, decide what's going on. And I present all the facts and lay them out dispassionately. That's not what's happening. People's distrust of all of those institutions I mentioned are the presuppositional views that they have that are informing every question that she raises. And so people are literally, their emotions about all of this are being leveraged against them. They're being weaponized as they watch her content.
All right. I love it. Virgil, my man, Virgil, he gonna stay on my Christmas list for sure. You want to add anything to that, Lisa, or how you feel about that?
No, I think he's spot on.
No, I'm right there with him. All right, I wanted to just take a second because I know Jason's going to start, and I disagree with the way he's approaching this, because both of these men, Anthony and Virgil, have said something that I don't think Jason and Shamika are fully understanding or have a grasp of, and that these are not facts that are being presented. They're just anomalies. They're just weird scenarios that have really no bearing whatsoever in the case, and ultimately, me having a presupposition, me having an axe to grind, using Anthony's words, is really driving you in a direction not to make your own conclusion, but to come to the conclusion that I have already had. That's my problem. Let's see this. Let's go.
Virgil and Shamika, just be patient with me here for one more second. Virgil, I listened to that yesterday and this morning. I've listened twice. I think people are carrying their presupposition into the hearing of what Candace is saying, because I've watched it twice. And again, I have not, just to be fair.
That's fair. I have a presupposition. I think that, let's be honest, Lisa, do you have a bias toward your husband?
Yeah, I should.
Right. I hope so, right? I think we all have biases. And do you have a bias toward this scenario? What's going on with Candace, Charlie, and Erica? Do you have a bias toward that?
I mean, probably, but I mean, again, because we
I-
all have a level of bias, but
Right.
also I think that there's, like you said, there's ways to filter what's right and what's wrong, right? So,
Absolutely. And I admit, like, yeah, I'm biased toward Turning Point over Candace
mhm.
I think for good reason. But I'm willing to hear, give me facts. And I keep asking for facts. You see me on Twitter, I'm asking, where's my Egyptian plane data? Because apparently, that's supposed to be the big hugabaloo. Where's the Egyptian plane data? If that was supposed to be the thing that changed the whole complexity of the game, then we should have it. We should have had that already. But
Pretty sure, didn't Candace say she was gonna post it too, and like she never has, and even people in her comments are asking for it, and she just like is ignoring them now.
so I haven't kept up with it. I don't even know what day I'm at now, but I used to have a banner. It says this: it's been 43 days since Candace lost report on the French hit on her life. Like, she keeps talking about these things, but never actually addresses them.
Nope.
And so I don't even remember how many days it is. It's probably better than 60 at this point. But that's just another example. Like, you said they put a hit out on your life and you never gave us any evidence. So these are the things that I think Jason is going to miss. Jason Whitlock is going to miss these things pretty bad because that's what is missing. Where are the facts? Okay, let's go.
Let's say I'm going to speculate here that Candace has done 30 or 40 videos since Charlie died.
Easily.
I've probably watched three of them in full. I've seen bits and pieces over social media, some highlights of the others. And so I'm just not super familiar, but I come into this with the belief that I didn't bring the baggage in like, oh, Candace is putting these arguments together to prove that Erica Kirk participated in the assassination in any way of Charlie Kirk. And I think Candace went out of her way in her presentation yesterday, having watched it twice, that there was no presupposition, there was no intent of hers. Maybe it's a hidden intent, but I think people are bringing that into their conclusion. It's not what she actually did. I didn't hear anything she said as an accusation or a setup to prove that she had anything to do with the assassination. I read it or listened to it and understood, like, she's saying that, hey, there's some mystery and things about Erica Kirk.
I got to stop, Jason. I'm sorry. I text Virgil and told him that he might have to take me off his Christmas list because I'm going to probably say some harsh things about Jason. Jason is an idiot. Jason Whitlock is an idiot. And I'll say that with my whole chest, and I'll explain why. Just because Candace didn't say it in the opening salvo that Erica Kirk was is being looked at as being a part of or accomplice to her husband's deletion, doesn't mean she hasn't said it before. I mean, I'm trying not to pull up the milk bar video of her saying it ad nauseum or Edie's video of her talking about it. I mean, pretty clearly. So just the fact that you've only watched 3 videos, which is, I'm sorry, that's egregious. That's malpractice, sir. That's not journalism. That you haven't watched any videos about this, and then you go sit there and say, well, I don't think she's talking about it. She's already said it. She don't have to say it again. She's already said it. So we already know where she's coming from. We know what square she's on. Just because you don't know that, that's not our fault. This guy's a fool. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, at the end of the day, I always say it's a catch-22, right? Because I don't want to give Candace money. I don't want to give her clicks. I don't want to give her views. But at the same time, you in order to expose evil and expose darkness with light, you have to know what they're talking about. You have to know what is going on. You have to be in the know, unfortunately. And so, have I watched every single episode of Candace? No, I have not. But like this whole Erica series, I didn't want to, again, I don't want to give her clicks. I don't want to give her views, but I've watched each episode, the 2 episodes that she's put out so far. Because at the end of the day, in order to fight this stuff, you have to know what's being put out there, right?
Absolutely.
And I've been saying evil does not stop itself. It doesn't. You have to stand in the gap, and that's our job as the church, is to stand in the gap and to call out truth, to call out sin, all of that. And so at the end of the day, the only way we're going to be able to fight against this is to know what is being spewed and what's being talked about. So,
yeah.
And if
and
he's having
go
if
ahead.
he's having a bunch of people on a panel to come on his show, he should have done his due diligence and done his homework, right? He should have done his research.
Let me give you an example. If the narrative was that Candace has been saying that Donald Trump is actually a Romulan spy from Romulus in Star Trek, okay, you could do a quick Google search. You could do a quick Chat GPT or Grok and find out like what is it? What is going on with this? And Grok and Chat GPT and Google will say, "Are you on your meds? What are you talking about?" Nobody has said that. Or let's bring it back down to like realistic. You could do a Google search, Jason Whitlock, a Chat GPT, a Grok, and say, has Candace Owens said anything about Erica Kirk's participation in the deletion of her husband? And guess what, Jason Whitlock, the journalist, the award-winning journalist, you would get feedback from that. And you'll be like, oh, can you show me? And you can literally ask Chat GPT, give me the episodes that she said this in and the timestamps. So to come in here so ill prepared shows that this dude doesn't want to be right. He doesn't want to even, I think he knows. Let me say it like this. I believe in my heart of hearts, he knows what is being said. He just doesn't want.
Just to show you guys, okay, like I'm a nobody, right? Like I'm a small little person on the internet that nobody really even knows exists, right? And this was where my thought process, this is the rabbit hole I went down yesterday. So all these people that are saying that Erica Kirk could have been involved in killing her husband, I said, is this even a normal way that women would commit? It's called marital side, by the way. Is this a normal thing that women, would they parade their husband out and have a public execution in that way? That level of gore and violence in front of a public display, is that common for women that are committing marital side? Guess what? That's not common for how women kill. I went through a whole deep dive yesterday on like the ways that women typically would kill their husbands.
Don't give them ideas now. I don't want to be
but I'm just saying, like, if you do research into women who have done this in the past, right? So now can there always be an outlier? Of course,
Sure.
Human nature, there can always be the exception, but it is very rare for a woman to do a public display of violence like that. Women who are thinking of killing anybody, they typically do it privately in their own home, in the private, right? Also, women don't typically use forms of violence where they have to actually see the person die in front of them, because women don't like to see that. They like to do something where they give you something, they leave, you die, and then they come back. So like the Corey, what is her name? Corey Robertson's case or whatever, where she gave her husband fentanyl. She gave him fentanyl, poisoned him. So poison is a common thing that women will do because they like to give them the thing and let them just go die somewhere, and then they find them dead, right?
Right.
They don't like to actually watch their victims die. That's not common for how women who do this type of thing do it. So all that to say, Erica Kirk killing her husband in the way that Charlie Kirk died is just, that's not the common way that a woman would do that. It's just too public. It's too graphic. It's too violent. That's not standard for how women operate. But like, again, I'm nobody on the internet, and this is the type of research and stuff that I'm looking at. Somebody like Jason, he should be digging into that kind of stuff. Like, is this even common? Do women even operate this way? But he's not. So,
but he's a journalist, though. He's a journalist.
He is an award-winning journalist.
Award-winning journalist.
That do not add up and make her unqualified to be the CEO of one of the most powerful political organizations in America, that's drenched in money, has a tax-free, status, and these things are worthy of being explored, and don't in any way. I didn't hear any argument yesterday was like, and she was involved in killing Charlie Kirk. Didn't hear any of that.
That's not what she did at all.
She's already said it, though. That's the only problem. And I'm no affront to Virgil, but he knows the body of work. And again, most people in the best live chat, in the most electrifying comment section, we probably have watched more episodes of Candace's content than Candace's supporters have. Definitely more than Jason Whitlock has. I know more than Virgil. He told me he don't watch a lot of it. But the problem is you don't have to say it on it's kind of like if you read a book. If something happens in chapter 1, in chapter 31, they might not reiterate what was said in chapter 1 if it was foundational to get you to chapter 31. Everybody knows it because they read the first chapter. They read the second chapter. So this is very weird that they come across like this. But
also, you could just look at her tweets. She's tweeted about it as well,
Great
which
point.
Matt Walsh went through all the tweets yesterday and showed where she was
point. Yes.
Straight up saying that Turning Point was involved and that they sat down and planned out his assassination. What'd she say, July 18th, or like she's giving dates and all of this stuff. So even if you don't want to watch her actual show, like just go look at her tweets because she's tweeted about it as well.
That's an excellent point. Excellent point. All right, let's go.
But she's not dispassionate about the information that she's putting together, and that's crystal clear in her presentation. She doesn't have to say, Erica killed Charlie. I, like you, I've not watched. If there are 30 episodes, I can't say that I may have watched one in its entirety and seen bits and pieces of other highlight stuff online. Like you yesterday, I watched it twice because I watched it last night, as it aired, and then in preparation for today, I wanted to get a fresh look, fresh eyes, and so I watched it again this morning. And she doesn't have to say any of those things. It's all in her presentation and the questions that she lays before things that really there's a mystery here. Well, is there? Like that could have just been like a clerical error. A lot of these government places have challenges and problems. And then she said, well, there are documents, hopefully, that they corrected in Ohio. Well, I mean, okay, if they corrected them, what's this is a nothing burger. Like
I hear you on the, hey, maybe there's an error on her birth certificate about when she was born, but I think she argued more than that.
She did, absolutely, she did.
And so I don't think she brought it up about like, hey, man, the birthday's not right on 2 or 3 of these documents, and it doesn't make sense. Right. I think she argued more than that, to the point where she raised questions about like, is the person Lori? Is this actually her mother?
Right. That's wild work. Like, notice that every one of Candace's quote unquote investigations has a very similar theme. I don't know how many people would have to be involved in the cover up that Belinda is not really my mom. And I'm 50. I don't know. That would just be insane. The amount of people that would all have to greenlight this conspiracy that Belinda was really not my mom, but Jackie was my mom. I don't know how you concoct that. And what is the purpose of that? And how does that mean that Charlie Kirk, that any of this relates to Charlie Kirk being deleted? It makes no sense at all. So,
well, I mean, Candace's supporters now, their whole thing is they're saying that her aunt is her mother because she looks so much like her aunt. I'm like, do you guys understand how genetics work? My brother was a carbon copy of my uncle, my mom's brother. Obviously, my uncle had nothing to do with the creation of my brother. My mom definitely carried my brother, but we've all had siblings that look like an aunt or an uncle, right? It look more like an aunt or an uncle than their direct parents. Or I know of kids that look like their grandparents. Like one of my friends, her daughter is the spitting image of her grandma. Like, it's crazy how genetics work like that. But yeah, now they're trying to say that Erica's mother, that her aunt was actually her mother. And I'm like, you guys are so ridiculous. Like, this is not even, again, it's just Candace will try to take the most mundane, run-of-the-mill, average life things and try to make them into this grand, dramatic conspiracy. And it's like, no, this is just like normal stuff. Like, what are we doing right now?
No. Like, think about it. But this is what I'm saying. Notice every one of her investigations has that. Somebody is not really who they are. That was in the Macrones.
And
remember that?
Kamala
all of that.
Harris. Yeah.
Kamala Harris is always that. It's always somebody is not who they are, or somebody's family member is not who they said they were. It's always this kind of
scenario. Always a dirty Jew. She always brings it back to the Jews.
Always somehow or another become Jewish. Always. Yes. Like, I'm just saying, like, is there something there? I think it is. And to answer your question, I already said, could there be an unconscious bias on Jason's part? I think you're assuming me concerning Erica, or are you talking about Jason Whitlock? See, that's why. That's the only reason I do this is to confuse y'all. So y'all say bad stuff about me. If you're saying me, I'm giving Erica the benefit of the doubt because I don't think that she had anything to do whatsoever with the deletion of her husband, and she's going through a horribly traumatic situation. If you're saying Jason Whitlock, then I might rock with you because I do think that I know for a fact that he believes Candace, hung the moon. So that being the case, I think he does have a bias toward Erica because his boo thing, Candace, is saying something. So that's just me. My name is Jason, dearwokec@gmail.com. All right, let's go.
So I hear the one example, but let me bring Shamika in. We made you wait long enough. Shamika, what's your take?
Initially, I was thinking the same way you were, Jason, or so many people, that it was a nothing burger. I think because after the trailer, I was expecting Boosie, like set it off in this, that's what I wanted. And that's not what I got initially. So I think I went in with big expectations, not having watched Becoming Brigitte or not having watched the Kamala series. I'm not used to a lot of the slow walking. So I wanted everything all at once, just pile it all on my plate and let me eat what I can. And I don't think that's what we got initially. So initially I was thinking, oh my goodness, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. But by the end, I was thinking, okay, she's slow walking us and she's giving us more information. Now I agree with Virgil when he says that Candace doesn't have to say that that's what she's implying. But I also believe Candace didn't have to say it. People have felt that something wasn't right prior to Candace ever saying one word. And it's like people want us.
I got to stop her right there. I don't like Shamika. Again, my name is Jason, dearwokec@gmail.com. You can email me if you have a problem with that. I don't like Shamika. I don't think she's an intelligent thinker at all. Ma'am, nobody would be saying this if it were not for Candace. When Charlie Kirk's body hit the ground, I guarantee you, if there was some way to scan all of society, the moment Charlie Kirk at high noon when his body hit the ground, I guarantee you there was nobody thinking Erica Kirk, TPUSA had anything to do with it. I guarantee you 5 hours, 10 hours, nobody was saying that until this idiot started tweeting that dumb stuff out there.
I mean, and she literally said in her opening statement, she just flat out admitted to you guys that this is entertainment for her. This is entertainment. I was expecting more. Where's the entertainment? Give me more. I want the drama. Like, bring me. She wants the tea, right? Like, that's all she's here for. And she's literally admitting right out of the gate, I don't care about Charlie Kirk. This isn't about anything deeper for me. This is pure entertainment and gossip. Mm-hmm. This is a gossip rag. And they want their gossip, and they want to know why Candace is not giving them more right out of the gate. Like,
out the gate,
she's literally saying that her motivation here is purely selfish. It is purely selfish motivations, all of them.
Wow, I love it. Great catch.
To deny or gaslight us into thinking that this woman's behavior has just been completely innocent. Nothing has looked a bit suspicious. Before Candace ever said one word, I thought, it's weird to me to have someone record you rubbing your husband's dead hands. It's weird to me to come out to fireworks at his memorial service.
Can we hold on a second? Mm-hmm. This is something that people get hung up on, and it absolutely drives me insane that they don't like how Erica touched him in the casket. Okay, my brother died 3 years ago at 29 years old. You guys, people touch their dead loved ones like this. I watched my mom do it with my brother. It is now, they didn't film it, obviously, because my brother was not the public figure that Charlie Kirk is, and some people had an issue with it being filmed. But as far as just the way that Erica was touching his hands and kissing on him and all of that, literally my mother did that with my brother when he was in the casket. I literally have video of the very last time that we left the hospital because my brother was on life support. He had already been declared brain dead, but he was an organ donor. So
wow.
The last time that we left the hospital, literally it was the last time, and my mom just kept saying, this is the last time I'm gonna get to touch him. This is the last time I'm gonna get to touch him. And then when we were leaving the funeral, she said it again. She was touching him in his casket, and she said, this is the last time that I will ever get to touch my baby. And then my brother he ended up being cremated. So it literally was the last time that she was ever going to get to touch him. And so, yeah, like there are people that are not weird about touching a body. Like For me, I did not want to touch my brother. It creeped me out. I didn't want to do that. That was my personal preference, not to touch him. But my mom, like, she did not care. She was touching her baby, and that was the last time she was going to get to touch him. And she did not care what anybody thought. And that's totally fine, too. But, like, these people that are acting like that's weird and like that's not normal, that is normal for certain people. Like, they want to touch them and say goodbye to them. So that drives me insane.
And I'll just tell y'all this fun fact, not a fun fact. I hate to tell you this. We had a death in my family this past week. So next week, when I will not be here, I will be going to a funeral. I'm not a big funeral guy. I don't really like going to them. I don't make a big deal out of it. That's why I don't even mention it. However, I was explaining to my wife why I really don't want to go. And one, I don't really like traveling like that. But also I said, hey, the last time I saw this gentleman, he was a deacon as well. And I had just gotten ordained as a deacon. And so the last time I saw him, I was sitting on the side of his bed talking about being a deacon. And it was just a fun conversation I had with him. It was the first, because when I came in the room, he said, oh, there's Deacon Jason. I didn't know he knew I was a deacon. Like, who told you? Who told you, Pops? And we sat around talking about being a deacon. And that was just super cool to me. I don't have to see him. I told my wife, I said, I'm good. I'll see him again. But my last remembrance of him was us sitting around talking about being deacons and the cool things that we do as a deacons. I thought that was super fun. I don't have to see it. So where am I going with this? I'm just saying, like, the notion that everybody has to behave like everyone else is, I think, is cruel, in my opinion, to tell somebody you can't touch your loved one or you got to go to a funeral. Have you not been to a Black funeral? Black folk act crazy at funerals. Okay. I mean, the only saving grace we have is that all of my relatives are getting older and they probably can't jump in the casket with them. Okay. That's about the only saving grace we got. Black folk be acting a fool. So why is Shamika acting like the things that Black folk do are not abnormal to somebody else, or the thing that she did was abnormal? It's just I think it's cruel. I think it's unfair. It's uncharitable. And the fact that these people profess to be Christian, in my opinion, shows that their profession might need to be reevaluated. That you can't be gracious and say, you know what? Yeah,
I mean, Matt Walsh said it perfectly yesterday. He said, if this woman cries too much, she's being dramatic. If she doesn't cry enough, she's a hardened, cold woman.
Right.
If she's angry, she's this. If she's happy, it's nothing she does will make them happy. They're going to be upset no matter what she does. She's being analyzed to the 10th millionth degree. But yeah, like, grief is weird. Funerals are weird, but yeah, all
life is weird.
I just want to say that, the whole process is weird. Being someone that, again, has recently gone through the loss of a very close, again, my brother. We just hit 3 years in December that he died. And I am just now getting to the point where I'm like, okay, I think I'm ready to go to therapy and actually kind of start to process his death and start to work through it. 3 years in, I am just now to that point. So, it takes a long time to process these things, especially when you have, my brother died from a fentanyl overdose. So literally he was here one day and then literally he was just gone. And that's kind of how it's going to be for Erica. It's like, it's not like they had cancer and you knew that they were dying and you had time to get used to the thought of them dying and stuff. It's literally they're here and then they're gone. Right. And I still, over the last 3 years, have had times where I'm like, I'll pick up my phone and I'm like, oh, I can't call him. I can't call my brother. I still have to think about he's not here. You know what I mean? And that's 3 years in and I still have moments like that.
Wow.
So all that to say, everybody's different. When people are saying that grief is weird and it is different for everybody, it is. That's the truth, because there's no rhyme or reason to it at all. There's no specific process that everybody goes through. It's just different. And so, yeah, if she wants to touch him in the casket, touch him in the casket. Who cares?
And guess what? It has no problem with me. I don't have why do I have a stake or lot in it?
Right.
Like, why does my opinion outweigh your opinion? Or why do my feelings of it being weird outweigh your feelings of release? Because this is your husband. Like, let it go. All right, let's go.
To me, for you to keep rubbing his chair and talking to him in whispers during your first public announcement, it felt weird to me. So Candace didn't have to say anything. This is what I saw on my own and felt something doesn't feel right. One of my frustrations, and I think, is the idea that this just could never happen. We've seen cases where women have had an involvement in their husband's death all the time. So for me, it's not far-fetched. And so I get frustrated when people act as if it's just never happened. A spouse has never been involved with their husband's murder.
Okay. And Lisa, you addressed this earlier, and I mean, you did a fantastic job. But explain, okay, fine. If you're trying to say that you're trying to impose that Erica's involved in Charlie's deletion, what is your evidence and facts thereof? Her birth certificate being wrong on her mom's second divorce isn't evidence. Her dressed like a bee with a little hand signal, hands like this, is not evidence. What is the evidence that you're making, Shamika? Otherwise, you're being stupid. You're being a foolish woman, and that's the problem.
It's possible. Now, Candace doesn't have to imply that for me because I've seen cases where it has happened.
I would love to show me a woman who was facilitated a public execution of her husband, Shamika. Please show us that proof in context.
Yeah, well, I mean, even so, it is common for women, if a woman is going to commit marital side, it is common that they will try to hire like a hitman or an assassin.
That's fine.
Normally they're afforded ahead of time because usually they're talking to law enforcement and the law enforcement is undercover. So usually it gets found out before it can ever come to fruition, right? That is the majority of those cases. The vast majority of women who are committing marital side, it is domestic violence related, and the woman is trying to escape or get out of a situation where she is being physically assaulted, right? That is the vast majority of women that are sitting in prison right now for unaliving a boyfriend or a husband or whatever. It is serious DV situations. This is why I think Candace was trying to allude to the whole fight the night before Charlie died, like that whole thing. She's trying to make their marriage into something. Again, we don't have any evidence that their marriage fits the bill for a true like domestic violence controlling man situation. So that's just ridiculous. But I think that's kind of like why Candace is trying to push that, like that narrative. But yeah, at the end of the day, Erica does not fit the bill for any of this stuff. Like statistically, she doesn't. And yeah, you have to make some wild jumps to get there, which is why they're trying to make these wild leaps to try to get from point A to point B, because this doesn't make sense.
I mean, because I can make the case right here. I can say Shamika, well, she must have killed her husband. Her husband's not in the video. I don't see her husband. So therefore, it's weird that she doesn't have her husband sitting in the sound studio with her. So she must have killed her husband or is a part of the deletion of her husband, so on and so forth. There you go. See, I can make the same assertions and make their silly claims because Shamika's never been married. She's a baby mama. Nobody's ever wanted to marry her. And therein is the problem. But let's go, because I'm going to say something rude again.
Women have chopped up their husbands, put them in suitcases. There was a woman who is on trial right now. After her husband's death, she wrote a book for her children, trying to help them get through the grief. So it happens all the time. That's just me watching on the outside. So Candace didn't have to say anything.
That's Corey that
Candace
I mentioned.
or anybody else simply.
I say it again. I'm sorry.
That's Corey. That case that she just mentioned about the woman that wrote the children's book on grief after she killed her husband. That's the Corey. What's her last name? Robertson or whatever her last name is.
Okay.
But anyway, literally, and she's the one that poisoned her husband with fentanyl. Left him in a bedroom for several hours and came back and found him deceased after the fact. Again, so she poisoned him privately in their home, and that was her second attempt at poisoning him, by the way. So again, does not even, like, using an example of a woman who committed marital side, and the way that she killed her husband doesn't even match how Charlie Kirk was killed, which was by public execution, basically, in front of millions of people, Corey fits the bill of how she killed her husband in private, in her own home, and gave him a substance and put him in a room so that she didn't have to watch him die, which is how women typically will commit these types of crimes if they're going to commit them. So she's literally trying to even give an example that doesn't even fit Erica Kirk, which is so infuriating.
Because it doesn't feel right to me. It didn't look right to me. And so for me, that was my initial thoughts. And by the time she got to the end, I said, okay, maybe at the very least, she just isn't who she has portrayed herself to be, because I know I'm not crazy. Something doesn't feel right.
There's almost, and this will be my second cut at the apple, or bite at the apple, Barack Obama ascended to the presidency, and conservatives have picked through his background and where this guy come from, and any inconsistencies have been questioned. Barack Obama, president of the United States, lawmaker, or in the Senate in Illinois, and briefly, I believe, in the Senate, the National Senate, in Congress. And so when you ascend, this is where it has been my instincts from the get-go. Is like, well, she just took over the CEO job of the most powerful political charity going in America. And that's weird to me because.
Okay, so I don't even know where the Barack Obama argument came in. That just shows, like, again, Jason professes that he's a journalist. That doesn't, that they're not even in the same ballpark. Did Barack Obama become senator or president because somebody willed them to be that? Did somebody write it into their living will? Like, oh, when I pass away, I want Obama to be president. If I pass away, let Barack Obama take my seat in Senate. No, that's not the case at all. He was elected. So whether or not you like him or not, whether you think there was some inconsistencies, that's not the discussion we're having. So why is he pretending? Again, they're creating this narrative as if Erica Kirk came in there with bows and throwing stilettos to get to the front of the line to become CEO, when that's not what happened at all. And
it's literally the classic straw man argument, right? Where you're
Mhm.
trying to divert them into something that is completely not correlated. And I just looked it up for you guys that want to look up the case. It's Corey Richins is her name, because
Yeah.
I wanted to get that right. So if somebody wants to go look up the case, they can. But her trial just started a couple days ago. She killed her husband back in
Wow.
2023, I believe, and it's just now going to trial. So that's how long these things take.
Wow.
But yeah. So anyway, yeah, it's just classic straw man argument to try to divert you onto something that is comparing apples to oranges, so to speak. Like, those two things are not even comparable.
Yeah, let's go.
In my view, she's not qualified. She's a housewife with 2 young kids. And so when you ascend to that much power enthusiastically, right in the immediate aftermath of your husband's death, that raises a red flag for me that I want answers for. And Virgil, here's where I'll end, Anthony. I'll toss it back in your lap. The thing, when I hear people say, well, Jason's not dispassionate in his questions about Stephen A. Smith. He's driven by his hatred of Stephen A. Smith. And when Jason looks into major storylines during his journalistic career, when I went to Jenna, Louisiana, and unraveled that story and the true nature, well, Jason's just doing that because white people are paying him to do that. He's trying to curry the favor of white people. None of it was true. I wasn't trying to curry the favor of white people. My distaste for Stephen A. Smith isn't driving my exposure of the fraudulent background of Stephen A. Smith. And so when I'm listening to Candace, early on, she's unpacked something about, and I'm gonna play. It's a 4-minute clip, guys. I'm gonna play it. I hope you guys got time for me today.
I'm just gonna say this. I think it's adorable that Jason would go to somewhere, Louisiana, to do the research, to do his quote unquote journalism. Candace has not left Nashville. She hasn't gone to Utah. She hasn't gone anywhere to TP. She hasn't gone to Phoenix. She hasn't gone anywhere except to her basement studio, which I just find adorable. That, okay, Jason, fine. You went and did some research. I'll give you that. I'm willing to be gracious, but Candace doesn't do any of that.
No, she allows the audience to do it for her, and she allows the audience to lead her where she's going, which, again, that's not true journalism. The journalist should be giving the audience the story and should be giving them the information and letting them decide, like, what they feel on it, right?
Yeah.
She is allowing the audience to mold and manipulate her at the end of the day. And this is very evident in the way that she does a lot of different things. But I mentioned this when I was debating Zach, right? One of the things that I brought up is I said, why do we have smaller creators like Gary, who is going to UVU, who
Fact.
is setting up 3D models of the campus and examining, you know, where Tyler Robinson supposedly would have been on the roof and from how far Charlie was sitting under that tent and all of this. Like, we have all these like smaller people on the internet. I mean, Candace Owens has more resources, more money,
Good point.
more connections than any of us could imagine. And yet, like you said, she has not been to UVU since Charlie died.
Mm-mm.
She has not been there to look at the distance of how far this was to that, to where's the buildings here and who would have been where at what time. And she didn't look at the, I mean, Gary was just talking the other night about the trap door thing, right? And he was like, no, we know that nobody would have been, they were fully exposed. There's no way that somebody would have popped out of those doors to shoot Charlie. Like, because
Ninja
he's been
Turtles.
there. He actually knows what is there. Those doors control the mechanisms for the water feature that's in front of where that area is, right? So again, he knows that because he's been there. Why has Candace Owens not gone there? Why is she not going to do these things? I said she hasn't even brought an expert on her show. She has not brought a single person on her show with any letters behind their name that is an expert in ballistics or forensics or human body language experts or experts in human trauma or like any of these things. Like, she could bring on a number of different people, and they could even be people that agree with her. They don't even have to agree with me. They could be people that are fully in her camp. But at the end of the day, she has not brought on a single expert in any of these fields. Why?
Let me. I'm going to ask another question.
I said to Zach, I said, you're just content with slop. Why are you content with slop? And guess who couldn't answer the question?
Probably Zach. Let me ask you this question. This is another thing. She doesn't even have to leave her home. Why is she not file FOIA requests for anything? Like, where's a FOIA request for the chief of police of Utah Valley State Police Force or Fort Hawktua or anything else? She could file FOIA requests and get all of this information and put a lot of our questions heads to bed. I think we know why she won't do it and why she hasn't done it is because she knows that she's full of hot air and she's not going to get the result or not going to be what she thinks it is. When she contact again, like the chief of police, Brian Harpo said the man let him down with the drones. Why don't you reach out? That would be a guarantee. That would be a slam dunk. You would know that Brian Harpo was full of hot air if you had proof from the chief of police. Said, no, I'm texting him, asking him what kind of drone did he want? Did he want the heavy one or the light one? Or this 4K or this K? None of that. Why? Because she knows it's not going to work for her. All right, let's go.
You know, she's on borrowed time. We'll just say that.
Yeah.
As soon as this trial happens, she's done. And
I think she has to get ahead of that. I think that's a great point.
She's trying to put out as much as she can to make as much money as fast as she can because she knows, again, once this trial goes down with Tyler Robinson, she is done for. Once they actually present all of their evidence to the public, she's done. And just like the demons know that they're on short time, right? They're on borrowed time. Candace Owens is on borrowed time.
Let me also just add just another little, boogeyman down the road. She still has a Macron case. And Macron case, they're slow dragging that thing. They are slow jamming that thing to her. Okay, let's go.
Let's play this 4-minute clip because this is early on. This is probably within the first, I would say 10 minutes, but it seems like it took 20 minutes for her to read that tweet. But it's early on. She starts unpacking like the relationship between her mother and this narrative they have of this mother as this single mother that raised this kid all alone. And I was like, man, this sounds like Stephen A. Smith. But let's play the clip.
For example,
Wow.
just one example. We are told that Erica Franz-Faye was raised by a strong, independent, entrepreneurial single mother who taught her how to be a good Christian, a devout Catholic mother. Lori Franz-Faye, right? As an aside, that this Catholic mom, who am I to judge Catholics, but she's been married 4 times that I can see. We'll talk about that more down the line. More importantly, though, you will recall that Erica sat down for an in-person interview with the New York Times days after Charlie was publicly assassinated, and she confirmed to them that the least traumatizing part about Charlie's assassination was the prospect of her now having to raise her children alone. She wasn't traumatized by that idea because she had seen the example set for her by her mother growing up. As People magazine later echoed, quote, Erica Kirk has learned a lot from her mother, Lori Franz-Faye. After welcoming her daughter in November of 1988, Franz-Faye divorced Erica's father, Kent Franz-Faye, and raised her as a single mother in Scottsdale, Arizona. Lori spent nearly 2 decades working for General Electric before founding multiple companies in the network security industry, according to her LinkedIn. So you can see they're seeding the public with the idea that you can raise kids and be a single mom and also be a CEO and boss babe it. Okay. The only problem is that it's just not true. Erica was not raised by a single mother, like at all. Erica's father, Kent Ronsvay, by the way, he's Kenneth Ronsvay, but he goes by Kent, was always in her life. So much so that for entire years of her childhood, Kent was actually a stay-at-home dad. So almost the exact opposite thing was true at one point. And you don't have to take my word for it. You can actually take Erica's. Take a listen.
Hold on. I do not want to knock the stay-at-home dads. I do not. There are some who had to temporarily have to switch that role. That happened to my parents a long time ago. Granted, again, they got a divorce, so that probably falls into your bucket. But
I am an anthropologist.
But my dad was a stay-at-home dad for a few years, and I got to say, it was really sweet and really special. I was 4, but that was.
Of course, it's not an indictment of the morality.
No, but if you're saying from the get-go, I want to be a stay-at-home,
it is a imbalance.
dad.
It's an imbalance of nature.
So stay-at-home dad for a couple of years. She remembers it. So I would assume started at 4 for a couple of years. People don't typically remember being 1 and 2. And now he wasn't in her life. To be clear, Erica was 10 years old when her parents divorced in 1998. So her father was very much a part of her early childhood, and he did not stop being involved in her teenage years either. I've spoken with classmates, past boyfriends, and people are generally bewildered as to why Erica is now publicly representing as though she does not have a relationship with Kent, the man that she claims is her father at least. Or also something she fails to mention is that even if you remove Kent, Erica was raised with her stepfather in her home, a man named Larry Ginta. In her high school yearbook, actually, Kent is included, her father, biological father, in a collage. And so are his parents, her grandparents, Carl and Elaine. So we can reasonably assume that her father was in her life. We can also assume from that photo that Erica was exceedingly close to her stepfather too. We can bring that back up and I'll show that. But he's featured there too. You've got Larry in the photo because he has been a fixture in her life since before her parents' divorce was ever finalized. Because both he and his son are also in the collage. I confirmed that classmates Larry and Lori were together since Erica's elementary school days. In other words, Erica grew up in a situation that is now termed as a bonus dad.
All I'm going to say is this is not muckraking. This is not, if you can look at that and not say, yeah, you dig in the bottom of the barrel. I don't know what Jason Whitlock is about to say right here, but if you can't say, yeah, that's kind of muckraking. What does this prove? It proves what? Okay, fine. She had a bonus dad. And what's her point? And therefore she killed Charlie Kirk. Like that needs to be the punchline. What's the punchline of this? Go ahead, Lisa.
At the end of the day, I've noticed that the Christians, the so-called Christians who are supporting Candace Owens, they are the most Pharisee, legalistic, religiosity type of individuals. Has anybody noticed? You're not allowed to grow. You're not allowed to mature. You're not allowed to have had a different part of your life before your faith became serious, before you entered into a relationship with Jesus. You are just held to whoever you were at, it's the whole thing with Erica when she was 25. We don't know where she was in her faith journey at that point, but they're just holding her to that 25-year-old standard forever. Like you're never allowed to mature. You're never allowed to grow. They are the most, again, if you read about the Pharisees in the Bible, and Jesus is always calling them out on how they are so legalistic about everything, and they will never allow they don't allow for the Holy Spirit. They don't allow for God to work at all. It's just by the book. It's by the rules, right? You got to follow the rules exactly and precisely. And if you don't, then you're a bad Christian. And it's like,
right. But it's again, like you could dig in through somebody's history. She's going back into the 1970s later on. And so you mean to tell me in 80 years, somebody hasn't changed? In 50 years, people haven't changed? Because again, people are going to look at Candace and say, Candace, you did some things. Like you did some things in the last decade, ma'am, that you haven't answered for. And
did some things last week. What are you?
Right. I mean, for real. She held some positions about extramarital affairs. She held some positions about a lot of things that, I'm sorry, ma'am, that doesn't comport with somebody who professes to be conservative, much less a Christian. Why are you not being held accountable? That's all I'm asking. Let's get done with this. This is ridiculous. Let's go.
So I want to connect this to 2.5, 3 years ago. I read Stephen A. Smith's memoir. And the first red flag that just made me say, hey man, this book is written because he has political aspirations. And it was the way he talked about his mother and the way he started diminishing his father. And I had read previous things of Stephen A. in the 90s, early 2000s, the way he talked about his father. And I'm like, well, this is a dramatic pivot. He's leaning into the narrative that he had a black supermother, queen. This is all, and I was like, this is all political messaging. And so people like 2.5 years ago when I was like, hey man, I think Stephen A. Smith wants to run for president. Whitlock's crazy. Whitlock's deranged. He hates Stephen A. Smith. He's blah, 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 blah. But no, I have journalistic instincts that were a gift given to me because I'm just not that smart. But there are
Amen.
dots that can be connected when people start tapping into certain narratives and when people start ascending to power. That like, and you start trying to, well, how did a beauty pageant mother of 2 young children get to be the head of TPUSA, one of the most powerful political organizations?
Doesn't he skip? Oh, I'm sorry. You don't even have to say anything. How does he skip? Oh, he says beauty pageant contestant, mother of 2 children. There is a whole novel series, volumes of books that he misses. He makes it sound like she was a single mom. The way he phrases that, as if she was just a single mom that just lucked up on it. That's crazy work, man. That is some bona fide crazy work.
There's serious questions that need to be asked. And when I start saying, well, damn, she's leaning into, they're creating one of these political narratives that everybody gets now, that there's this super mom at the base and it promotes the divine feminine. And if everybody has a mother that is their hero, this is good. These are the clues that led me to figure out what's going on with Stephen A. Smith long before anyone else. And so I want to just, I hear the nothing burger argument, and I'm not disrespecting it, but the as a journalist, and I'm not calling Candace one, I'm calling myself one, and I got plenty of receipts to prove that I'm a journalist. I've heard people constantly, well, that's a nothing burger. And I won awards because everybody else saw a nothing burger, and I was able, by the grace of God, to see something else. And so there are, and I'll show some other crumbs that Candace has laid out that should make people say, hey, what's going on here? And it's not that Erica participated in the murder. It's that perhaps chess pieces get moved around and they call them pawns, and they'll make it to the other side of the board. And the next thing you know, they're the queen. And they have no idea that the king actually moved them around.
That didn't even make sense. I'm sorry.
I was
To
going
be
to
in
say,
that
he's not even
position,
making any
it's-
sense at this
but-
point. Like, what are we watching
Yeah.
right now?
Well, we're just giving up. We're clearly just giving up at this point. I'm sorry. Now, Jason did he just say that she isn't a journalist? Didn't he? Because he said at the beginning that this was journalism, that she was doing journalism.
I don't even know, man.
Anthony, I'll let you go. We haven't heard from you. And then Virgil, you follow in behind. Just any new thoughts? I don't have a direct question. Any new thoughts
Yeah.
you may have?
Even on that clip that was seen, and I've seen it a couple of times as well. It doesn't tell me anything substantial. I'm looking at kind of like what Shanika brought up, which was, hey, the way that she acts, the way things are going, it seems weird. I'm okay with setting with, man, that's weird behavior. Now, if it leads to a crime, sure, but it just may be weird. Even the point that you make about, maybe this is kind of a political positioning. Maybe it is, let's retell the story of her life. Here were the facts. The facts were her father was, out of her life, only for a few months, and stepdad came in. And so she's glossing over or romanticizing a couple of months of a time where it was just her and her mom. And so she may tell the story of, hey, I've learned how to be a single mom. I've seen my mom do it. Well, really, it probably was only a couple of months. And then Candace goes on, even as she tells her narrative, she says, oh, who says she didn't have a relationship with her father? Who says she doesn't have a relationship with her stepfather? I didn't gather that. If she's saying, hey, I was raised by a single mom, doesn't necessarily mean I didn't have my dad. Maybe it meant my mom was around primarily. But even if we look,
Because the definition of single mom, I'm sure, is a floating target for a lot of people. There's some people, there's some married couples that they feel like the mom is a single mom. Like that doesn't mean anything. And again, I agree with Anthony and I agree with Virgil. Jason is just trying to make this thing work. That's what he really wants to glaze Candace Owens, because maybe he sees her political power or whatever like that. He's really trying to glaze her. You got anything you want to add?
At the end of the day, there's very plausible explanations for everything that Candace gives you. But again, she's trying to make very normal, mundane things into these big, dramatic conspiracies, right?
Correct.
But there are very plausible explanations for a lot of these things. At the end of the day, just because her dad was a stay-at-home dad for like maybe a year or two of her life, we don't know. We don't know how long that period lasted.
Right.
But that still doesn't take away from when Erica is doing an interview with the New York Times and she's looking at the totality of her life up until she's 37. So her 37 years of life, she can look at the majority of her life and be like, my mom was my primary caregiver for the majority of my life overall, right? That doesn't take away from, that doesn't mean that she's lying. That doesn't mean that she's trying to be deceptive. She's just looking at everything as a whole, big picture, right? Which a lot of us do. She's not going to go into every single aspect of her life with the New York Times and break down, oh, but my dad was a stay-at-home dad for 2 years from the time I was 4 until I was 6. And then, like, she's not going to do that. That's just not how you do those types of interviews. That's ridiculous to expect that. But also, when what was the lady's name that did the interview with Graham Allen? Tracy Martin, right?
Tracy
When
Martin,
Tracy Martin sat down with Graham Allen, she specifically said that that Erica's dad, and now the woman that he's married to, her stepmom now, that they have a lot of health issues, and so they couldn't travel, and there was a bunch of different things. So it could just come down to the fact that maybe her dad wants to remain private and doesn't want to be talked about in the public. He doesn't want her talking about him to the New York Times. We don't know. At the end of the day, we don't know, but none of this comes back to Erica killed her husband. None of this comes back to, like, again, how are we linking any of this in? At the end of the day, it's just it's a nothing burger at the end of the day. It doesn't matter.
I agree. All right, let's dance.
Look back and say, okay, Erica is romanticizing the past. We're repainting it to make her look a certain way in a certain light. Okay, but then my question would then follow, what does that mean? You've given an example, Stephen A. He has romanticized, repainted the past, and you've given us instances of where, hey, you talk like this in this point, you talk like this in this point, and others have asked the question, well, what does that mean? Well, I only did it like that because my mom said so. Okay, we've got it, but then what does that ultimately lead to? You see it as crumbs that may lead to, a full cookie or a loaf of bread coming up. I'm seeing, okay, there's a bunch of crumbs, and even with some of the dates and times, I keep seeing it like Virgil does, and Virgil's going to bring it up as well, but I keep seeing it like he does, which is you're making as if this crumb or this dot connects to something. I'm saying there's a possibility it could be, okay, this is just a weird scenario. Why would you say you were raised by a single mom? Why would you paint your story like that? Does it mean that she's a fraud because she's a CEO? How many other CEOs are we looking at? Hey, you said you grew up in such and such. Right? You actually grew up in such and such. You're not qualified to be the CEO of this big company. I'm okay with the question. I'm looking at it from a place of, okay, what is the question aiming to get from her repainting or romanticizing her past? And she's talking about things that happened when she was 4 or 5 years old. Do we have an objective scenario that says, and then you may say, well, the objective scenario says, well, this date and this date, okay, she lied about that, as many people in the public eye do about their past.
Virgil,
couple thoughts. One is,
okay, I just think it's funny, and again, it says everybody on the panel is Black. I'd love to know, like, are all of their families intact? Do they not have? Are all of them, mom and dad, married, been staying together, died holding hands together? I'm pretty sure it's not the case at all. So I don't understand why does this ultimately mean that anything? Okay, fine. She said,
I mean, I'm as white as they come, and guess what? My parents were never married.
My
mom had me as a teenager, and my parents were never married. They split up by the time, I think before I was even 2, they had split up. And they co-parented to take care of me. My dad took me on the weekends, but I would still look back at my life and say that my mom was my primary caregiver, even though I saw my dad on the weekends and on the holidays, right? But my mom was my primary. But apparently, if I say that, I'm lying. So, because I did see my dad, so he must have raised me.
Right, you got to not see your dad. Like, your dad's got to be off the board altogether.
Yeah, right.
Otherwise, your mom is not a single mom. Like, to me, this is being uncharitable. Is being very pharisaical as it relates to, because again, if we look in Candace's life, like, her last name isn't Owens. Like, that's her grandfather's last name. So why do you have your grandfather's last name? And she kind of glosses over it because she talks about the fact that her grandfather came and got them when they were living in the inner city to move to the country. Where was your dad?
She talked a lot about how her grandparents were raised her for a huge.
But where was your dad, Candace?
Yeah.
Like, see, we could do the exact same thing and be as uncharitable as today is Friday and be just as nasty about all of that. But see, that's not the way we do it because we're Christians and Candace isn't.
Candace Owens is no Jason Whitlock. She doesn't have a history of journalistic credentials that she can stand on. She's not a Hall of Fame journalist. There are ethical standards that, Jason, you had to maintain in the roles and the jobs that you had. There are other people who were validating, verifying. You had an editor in chief that you had to take things through, that had to look at what your assertions were before the document went to print. That's not the case here. Candace is the arbiter of all of it, so she can bring to the table whatever she chooses to. Now that doesn't invalidate her. I just don't want to give her more credit than credit is due as it pertains to what she's doing and how she's navigating this whole process. The thing that you brought up where Charlie and Erica were going back and forth, the thing that struck me was not the claim that she made about now this dad that's in her life. The thing that struck me is the thing that strikes me every time I see them interact, which is he has a very serious, stately, clear biblical worldview on an issue, and she's kind of trying to wiggle it out a little bit and kind of course correct some of his ideas. I've seen that happen on stages in the past. That dynamic is far more interesting to me than the fact that she remembered or decided at this point that she was going to bring up a dad who was actually in her life. This could be something. It may be something. Here's the ultimate problem, and I'll stop here. You mentioned Barack Obama. You mentioned Stephen A. Smith. The difference in those situations is this: no one is asserting that the nefarious nature of their historic past resulted in the public execution of their spouse.
Right.
No one's asserting that, and we may say, well, Candace isn't asserting that either in this instance.
But
she doesn't have to. Every claim she makes is on the basis of the backdrop of this man's murder. So whatever she says, that man, this is weird. This doesn't feel right. Doesn't this seem weird? It's not on the fresh backdrop of we've got to examine who this person is. Isn't this strange? That's what you're doing with Stephen A. Stephen A. hadn't killed anybody, at least not that we know of. And when you examine him, you're saying this guy has political aspirations, and here's the proof, and here's what's going on. That's a different set of circumstances than her husband died in a public way, and now let's go back and examine what it does in those instances. Is it takes kind of scrutiny into this character assassination kind of lane that I think is dangerous. That we need to kind of assess what we're listening to. I'm not saying you were manipulated by that, or Candace is effective in weaponizing those things that a thinking person wouldn't be able to say, well, that's not real, or this is not real, or what have you. But man, the vast majority of our audience, I'd argue, land in that camp and are amenable to not just attaching the idea of something nefarious to this. Isn't this strange about Erica? But they're more inclined to say, isn't this strange? And that's why Charlie died.
Right.
Question, Virgil, about even connecting it. Like, imagine if this whole thing came out before Charlie had passed, and it was just around the question of, hey, who is this lady that Charlie Kirk married? Let's look into her life. I think it would have had a different tone and tenor versus now, because now we're saying, wait, who is this woman that has ascended to the top part of this, political organization who, its leader was killed savagely. And even the connections to this person was kin to this person who was related to this person who has deep ties into the location where he was killed. That's an implication as to where she's trying to go with this. Not just a...
I'm going to just stop for a second. Maybe we should do like, who is George Farmer? Like, how about that?
I mean, I can't remember who it was that said it. I want to say it was Graham Allen, I think. I'm not 100% sure. But he said, if Candace was so concerned as a friend of Charlie's and she had all of these concerns about Erica, why was this not brought up when he was alive? Why were we not digging into who she was if we were so worried about like where she came from and that she's a liar and her past is sketchy and all this and that? Why was this not done until after Charlie died? If you cared about your friend so much, you would have brought these things up to him while he was alive, right? You would have brought up these concerns, or at least a good friend would bring up these concerns, right? It's because it's only profitable now that he's dead. And so now that it's a profitable conversation, now we're having this conversation, which tells me that it's not a
genuine. I think he froze up on me, Lisa. All right, let's keep it going.
Hey, we're just making connections here.
Absolutely. Last thing I promise, and you mentioned, because you mentioned earlier qualifications. Charlie was a college dropout. Like he didn't finish college. He's running this multi-billion-dollar organization. If credentials or anything, and listen, I'm no Erica Kirk apologist, right? But she has a bachelor's degree in political science and international relations from Arizona State. She has a Juris Master's in American legal studies. She has her and is engaged as of 2025. She was engaged in doctoral studies as well. And so again, I've got a bunch of degrees on my wall. Doesn't mean anybody's smart by any stretch of the imagination. But she has some things that she's completed that, if they were placed on a CV somewhere, would put her as at least a candidate for an opportunity to run to run a nonprofit.
No, hold on. Oh, this is okay. You're back. Shout out to you. I'm sorry.
Sorry, my computer just wigged out and like force shut down all of my programs. So hopefully it won't do that again. I don't know what the heck happened, but If it does that again, I'm having a computer issue. I apologize.
Okay, I'm glad. Well, I'm glad you're back. This is where Jason Whitlock says probably the most. If you weren't convinced that Jason Whitlock is a complete and total dolt, this is going to prove it for you, hands down. There will be no more questions. We can go ahead and shut it down. Shut your computer down too. Have you heard this part?
I don't think so.
Okay, Virgil just gave all of Erica Kirk's bona fides, and Jason Whitlock is going to say, I'm sorry, this is probably the most brain dead statement I've heard in my life. And oh, by the way, racism has now entered the chat.
Oh boy.
No.
Okay.
CEO of the most powerful political charity in America. Those qualifications you just listed do not add up. You know why
No.
Charlie's qualified? Because he built it from scratch.
Sure.
And so my father built the Masterpiece Lounge with his own hands. And if the Masterpiece Lounge had turned into Ruth Chris or what, some major stake, he'd always be qualified because he built it with his own hands.
Yeah.
This qualified, no. And here's the other thing that I think you guys are leaving out, and I'm not trying to be a butthole to her, but this is just facts. If she doesn't take the CEO position, no one's doing an investigation.
I don't know. I don't know about that.
Look at
If she-
Anthony's face. I'm sorry, this was not the exact racist comment. I'm sorry. But this is what they want, by the way. If you're wondering, this is what they want long range. They don't want Erica Kirk, who would be the next person that was most dialed into Charlie's vision. They don't want Erica Kirk running TPUSA. They want somebody else outside of Erica, Charlie Kirk's gravitational pull. They don't want Erica doing it. And Jason just told y'all.
At this point, I don't even think they want Turning Point to exist at all. I've seen multiple of them say that they just want it to shut down completely. They want it to completely go away. So
yeah, you'll get some slack jaw in there who will run into the ground. Absolutely. That's what they want to get to. I mean, the long game is, of course, to shut down and have a fire sale, in my opinion. But what they want to get to is somebody else running it who will run it into the ground. That's the problem. But watch.
Well, I'll just say this. If she was just at home taking care of them 2 kids after her husband died, and she's got plenty of money because he had plenty of money, I would be like, hey, what are you doing? This woman's trying to take care of her kids. What are we doing? If the police want to look into her, I'm perfectly fine with it. But once you say, hey, I'm going to take the wheels of the most powerful political charity in America, there's a scrutiny that will go along with it. The reason why I can say that today is because the very day she took the position, I did a show saying, hey, this is a mistake. This is crazy. This woman's got 2 young kids and claims to be a Christian.
Wow.
And if she had a 20 and a 15-year-old, I would have a whole different narrative on this. She's got babies and she's unqualified for the position.
Wow.
And that's indisputable. I don't care how many degrees. I got degrees that I'm not qualified for a lot of jobs. And CEO of the #1 political organization I get it that, hey, Charlie, I hear all the people Charlie wanted to be. The other thing that I think you guys are missing to some degree and not providing, Candace in her video yesterday, the same grace that you all are giving Erica, Candace offered it up in saying that, like, hey, I don't know if she's lying. I don't know if she's misremembering. I don't know if she's exaggerating. I don't, it just may be a personality quirk, but these things aren't adding up. And perhaps the things aren't adding up is because of her mother was married 4 times. And again, because there seems to be some dysfunction in her upbringing, perhaps that is why. I do. Again, maybe it wasn't sincere grace, but Candace did offer these things up. And I hear you all or hear from people that think that, like, hey, it's not sincere. Everybody, we're very comfortable judging Candace's motives.
Wow.
Very comfortable. To the point that she's demonic, she's evil, she's satanic.
I don't even know. I'm sorry. I have no idea where Jason Whitlock is even going. He is all over the dial. This makes no sense at all. And I'm glad that Virgil's about to set him straight. But He didn't. I thought this was the part where he talks about Stacey Abrams, and in a moment that'll pop in. But this is wild work. This is some crazy work. You got anything you want to say, Lisa?
Erica has said many times, it just comes down to the fact that they don't listen to her. Because if you listen to her own words, she has told people straight up, this is not about a job. This is not about a career. This is not a 9 to 5. She says this is a duty that goes much deeper than that. She doesn't have to do any of this. At the end of the day, she wants to do this because she has said many times it is about keeping Charlie's legacy alive. It's not about the money. She doesn't need the money. Again, she could never work another day in her life, and we know that she would be fine. At the end of the day, this is not about money. This is not about any of that. She was successful before she even met Charlie Kirk. She didn't need him or money or any of that stuff, right? At the end of the day, she has said many times, it's not about being a boss babe. They keep trying to bring it back to how dare you as a mother be working and be this boss babe. Like, it's not about that. And she has said that many times, but they won't just listen to the words that are coming out of her own mouth. Like, it's so frustrating.
And it is funny because, and feel free to, I just want to ask you this. I have said this, that Candace, I'm going to go on a limb and say about 93.7% of the stuff that Candace accuses Erica of doing, she actually is doing. Because nobody ever sees her children. She allegedly homeschools her children. But she makes a lot of claims that sound very unmotherly about children and her understanding of little people. And I'm like, as a dad, I got an 18 and a 15-year-old. And I sound more motherly sometimes than she does. And it just seems pretty wild, but go ahead.
But at the end of the day, any of these conservative commentators, before Charlie Kirk died, do we know any of their children? I've never seen Matt Walsh's children. I don't know their names. I've never seen Ben Shapiro's children. I don't know their names. I've never seen Allie Beth Stuckey's children. We don't know their names. I've never seen Michael Knowles' children. I think that he's maybe said their names, but at the end of the day, the bottom line is they are allowed to keep their children private. That is their prerogative. And I'm sure in their line of work with the amount of threats and the security risk and all of those things, Erica Kirk has never given her children's whereabouts. And she's not going to start now, especially now. I'm sure she has even more security issues now than she did before because of all of these crazy people. And Candace now has people chasing her around her own apartment building, for goodness sake. Like,
crazy work.
At the end of the day, like, we have never known any of these political commentators. We've never seen their children. We don't know anything about their children. And again, that's none of our business. Like, so now all of a sudden it's, where's Erica's children? Why is she not with her children? And I'm like, you guys, you don't know anything about this. She's never posted about it. And again, she's not going to start now. Like,
you know, you're right on the money. You're right on the money. So let's get done with this. I want to let them finish this up.
I've not said that.
I know you're not saying that, but people are.
Sure.
And we're very comfortable judging Candace's motives. Candace got a popular podcast, and it's just like the Masterpiece Lounge. She built that. And so but Candace didn't say, hey, I want to be Secretary of State. She didn't get named to Secretary of State or some big political position that would put Candace under a level of scrutiny that would be necessary. And every person virtually that seeks that high level of political power, there is a level of scrutiny that they go through to the point, and that like we can, not we, but people have and do, and without being called demonic, speculate about who Michelle Obama was. Awful speculation. And no, I haven't seen any of them people called demonic, satanic, blah, blah, blah. Nothing. But Candace, because we like Erica Kirk, and because she's Charlie's wife, and I'm going to just go ahead and say it, and I'm not saying it applies to you all, but trust me, if this woman was 250 pounds, if this woman wasn't blonde and didn't have bikini photos from when she was 25 or 30 that are really nice to look at, I just think there would be a whole different atmosphere around scrutinizing her. But because she looks like, is it Marsha Brady or, you know, whomever, you know, everybody's
Marsha.
A bit more sympathetic. And this is where
the only reason people are sympathetic is because, and this is Jason Whitlock just said that. The only reason people are sympathetic to Erica Kirk is because she's white, blonde hair, blue eyes?
I almost want to say that it's actually the opposite. I think it's because she's an attractive woman that she's getting so much crap. Honestly, I like, he's saying that it's because she's attractive that people are supposed to be sympathetic. No, I think that it's because she is an attractive woman, because she was Miss Arizona and all of this, that she is being picked apart. I think that that's increased the scrutiny on her. Actually, I would say that it's having the opposite effect of what he's saying. But at the end of the day, obviously that's only our speculation and our opinion. We don't have any proof of that. But literally, and I did a video on this, it's on my X account, you guys can go watch it, but literally I said every single thing that made Erica a perfect match for Charlie, the fact that she had a background in media, the fact that she has a background in entertainment, the fact that, you know, every part of her life, and Erica has said this many times, every part of my life prepared me to be married to Charlie Kirk, right? She even now says, looking back, like even stuff that I would have never even thought about, I now am connecting the dots that God was preparing me to be married to him and be in his orbit and in his life. Because Charlie Kirk could not just marry any woman. That was not like the lifestyle that he lived. It was not going to work for him to just marry anybody. He had to marry somebody with a specific set of qualities and skills. And at the end of the day, Erica had those qualities and those skills. She's also super driven and motivated like he was, right? And at the end of the day, like, now every single thing that made her a perfect fit for her husband and his perfect partner is now being manipulated and turned against her, which is wild to me. It's just, yeah.
I'm going to point out this very last point, and we're going to get done with this because I don't want to be long. But it's funny. These people want, Candace and the Candace supporters want us to believe that Charlie Kirk could be this close to President Trump, where President Trump calls him on his own phone, and there was no background check on Charlie, no background check on his wife. So his wife was a secret, you know, reptilian from, you know, Zanzibar or whatever, and they were fine with allowing her to have access to the president. This could be one person removed from the president. Okay, all right,
it's wild.
That makes
and
perfect
it's so
sense.
funny that you say that, because that's the last time I ever saw Charlie Kirk. The last time I saw him, he was running across the White House lawn to go over to where the press tents were. We were there for the March for Life in January of 2024. So it was, the inauguration had just happened, so they were all there for the inauguration and everything, and I was there for the March for Life, and he was running across. My son literally goes, "Mom, isn't that Charlie Kirk?" And I said, "Yep, buddy, that is Charlie Kirk." And he was running down to the press tents. And that was the last time that I ever saw him alive. But that's so funny. But because, yeah, like you said, there's no way that you would have that level of access to the White House and the president himself without them deep diving your background tremendously. And Erica would have been absolutely, she would have been included in that.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right, let's get done.
Trust me on this. And this is obviously hard for me to say, and people will be blown in my mind. But if this was a 275-pound black woman, Stacey Abrams, all kinds of scrutiny would be going on. And I just don't think there would be this caping up. Shamika, your thoughts?
Well, I was sitting here, Jason, hating that I was a woman and feeling like maybe I need to snatch my hair out so I could get in the conversation. But I now know I can just be patient because God's got it. You said a lot of what I wanted to say, especially the part about Erica being attractive and people giving her a lot more grace because of it. I totally feel that way. And I do see that people are very comfortable judging Candace's motives, but we just can't judge whether or not Erica may have had any type of motive at all. I am glad that Virgil called out her credentials, however, because I've heard that she's always wanted some type of power. She's always been a boss babe. Maybe that'll come.
Okay, I was trying not to. You know what? I'm not going to do it. Just let it go. Let it go.
Out in the series, I don't know, but I don't feel like she was ever really this submissive, I just want to be at home type woman. Those are my opinions, but I'm not the person to do some investigative journalism. That's just not me. And when it comes to Candace, I don't care that she doesn't have any type of credentials, because for me, if Gibbs and Collins are without repentance, I think they're also without a piece of paper. So I don't think she has to have a piece of paper to actually do what it is that she's doing. And at the very least, I'll say again, what she's doing may prove that Erica is at the very least just not honest, taking the reins of this multi-million-dollar organization and just not an honest person. Maybe that's all it is. But to me, if I was a donor putting millions of dollars into TPUSA, I would want to know the truth. I would want to know who is overseeing this organization that I'm putting my money into. Even if I was putting in $15, I would want to know who that is. And because she is the CEO, I think we are inquiring about who this woman is. I think if Tyler Robinson, or no, that's the killer, but the other guy that works for TPUSA had
Tyler
moved
Boyer,
up to CEO, people would want to know who he was. Because of the way Charlie was killed, I think people are just wondering, is there any other thing? Can there be any other story behind this? Because it was just such a shocker for most people. It seemed so crazy for most people. We watched Bibi Netanyahu come out and pretty much say, hey, it wasn't us. It was just so many strange things that happened that I think whoever would have moved to CEO, people would have wanted to know who that person was. And I do think if Erica had taken the role of just the widow, that the investigation wouldn't be on her.
So they said it again. How dare you lead this organization? We don't want you to lead this organization, Erica. If you step down, we will stop this foolishness.
Yep.
what they're
I
saying.
guess it's a good thing that it's not up to you. And also, who are you? Like,
Right. Who are you?
At the end of the day, like, all of the audacity of these people at the end of the day to like say that she should be doing XYZ, and I'm just like, who are you? And why are you suddenly the authority on this? Like, it's just insane. It's really insane.
No, I'm right there with you. We're gonna finish this up though. I think this was very telling, and I thought it was good for us to sit down and dissect it. We got a few minutes left. We got a little bit more than a few. Let's go.
I'm going to play another clip here from
gosh.
Candace. This is about 3 minutes. It's where she goes into like who really is Erica Kirk's mother. Let's play side 7.
So how did Erica and Nicole Rothstein get so close? Remember, Erica presents that she was raised by a single mother on the Lebanese side. If Erica is telling the truth about her paternity, then Nicole Rothstein, I want you to understand who this would be to her. Nicole Rothstein, it's going to sound ridiculous, but this is the reality. If Erica's telling the truth, Nicole Rothstein would be Erica's father's sister's husband's previous wife's daughter's daughter. In other words, zero blood relation, not even kind of related, kind of crazy. You would even call each other cousins. People do that. It's cool. It's my cousin. It's my cousin. Okay, cool. Erica goes a little further though. Erica also posted a lovely tribute to Alan Rothstein, Nicole's father, online. She calls him uncle. Uncle? Whoa. If Erica's telling the truth about who her parents are, to Erica, that would be her father's sister's husband's previous wife's daughter's husband. Suffice to say, again, absolutely zero blood relation, yet Erica is extraordinarily close to him as well. Now, we can show you on the family chart just how removed this is. It's insane. Okay, we actually couldn't even fit it. It's so far removed. So you got her aunt, Carla, is married to a guy named Jack, but Jack was also previously married to somebody else, which you see there.
Somehow or another, this is supposed to be like investigative journalism. I'm sorry. And Jason Whitlock said this was journalism. Go ahead.
I just don't understand how any of this has anything to do with anything. At the end of the day, it's just a bunch of, Candace was pulling family members literally out of thin air. We don't even know that any of these people are actually related to her. At the end of the day, is that even the right grandfather or like newspaper clipping from? Like, we don't know. She's going back to 1935. Supposedly this would be what? Erica's like great grandfather. Are we saying now that we're going to hold people responsible for the actions and behaviors of their great grandparents? Really? Is that where we're going with this whole police chase, lottery ticket, blowing in the wind, great grandfather? Like, you guys don't even want to see some of the crazy stuff that my family's done. Like, we all have weird families who have done weird things. But at the end of the day, am I supposed to be held responsible for the actions of like my crazy family members? I would hope not. That's ridiculous.
I'm just going to jump in because, and we are going to finish this, I promise you. I'm just going to jump in. Every last one of my college roommates that is involved in my life, that know my children all call them Uncle so-and-so, Aunt so-and-so. That's it. They know them as uncle and aunt. They know that we have no relation whatsoever, but they know that they're Craig's relationship to my dad is so important to my dad that my dad feels like he's his brother. Eric's relationship with my dad is so vital that I call him Uncle Eric. Because and I mean, that doesn't, and the funny thing is, and I'm just going to, since Jason Whitlock made this a racial issue, it's funny because these are black people on here. I guarantee you, every last one of them has a play cousin, an aunt, and uncle that has no familiar relationship. And you don't have to go all the way down the block. Like, I don't think I even know some of my brothers and sisters' families like that to even say, like, I just know Tanisha. I just know Yolanda. I don't know their families like that, but they're my sisters. Like, why are we like, why do y'all act like this? This is very telling. And again, I think Jason just wants to besmirch Erica, and Shamika just wants to make Erica look bad way more than be truthful, way more than do journalism.
Yeah, at the end of the day, there's very plausible explanations for all of these things, and every family has examples of this type of stuff in their family. We all do. It's no different than the whole like more far crap with the grandparents' name.
Yeah.
I said, do you guys realize that when little kids are little, they come up with the most like crazy names for their grandparents and they just stick? And it usually becomes like a joke within the family of how the grandparents got their, you know, Mima or Papa or Pop or whatever they end up calling them, right? Like, because you're talking about like when they're what, a baby, a year old, and they're just learning how to talk and say these things. Like, it's literally, it becomes like a joke within the family of what they end up calling them, right? So like, again, there's so many plausible explanations for all of this garbage that she's putting out as like a conspiracy. And it's like, this is not a conspiracy. This happens in everybody's family. This is the most ridiculous garbage I've ever seen.
So my sister, and this is it. My sister has a lot of kids, and she has a lot of kids outside of marriage. So when my daughters were little, whenever they would go over my mom's house and all of my sister's kids were there, they would always say that we're having a party at our Grammy's house. So they started calling her Grammy Party because there's always these kids at the house. It's like a party. And so to this day, my daughter is 18 and 15. Guess what they still call her? Grammy Party.
That's so funny.
And I'm like, why? The fact that you have to explain this to people, to me, is infuriating because you know it's true. I just got a text message from somebody that's on this panel who's watching this. Shout out to you, my bald brother. And we all know this to be true. Like we have fun names for people. The best live chat on the internet, an obscure YouTuber. My brother, my sister. Like, why? That's the part that's like, you're not even being charitable. I just met you today, Lisa, and you don't have to tell me all of the ins and outs. If you say, this is my Aunt Betty, I'm not going to ask, is she really biologically married to you? What's the percentage of blood? Okay, fine. That's your Aunt Betty.
Whatever. Yeah. And, but you know, you also don't think that I killed my husband. So I guess this could all come back to like bite me in the end at some point. It's just so ridiculous.
I'm not, and notice there's still, and if the punchline is still, therefore she killed Charlie Kirk, you got to make that make sense. Fine. It wasn't really her uncle, therefore she killed Charlie Kirk.
Like, at the end of the day, I watched that whole episode and I said, you know what? Leave it to Candace Owens to take us further from the goalpost than where we were.
Right. This isn't even.
She literally took us in the opposite direction from where we were, and now she has more ground that she has to cover to try to link all these things back to Erica Kirk, right? Because
Right.
I said, leave it to Candace to make more work for herself. Because, like, what are we even doing right now? We're literally going in the other direction. We're further away from where we even started. Like,
We're in the
what is
parking lot now. We were
what
on
is
the
happening?
we were on the 1 yard line. Now we've left out the stadium. We're out in the parking lot with the tailgaters.
It's
Still trying
so
to get
bad.
This is like fourth and 95,000. Like, I don't think we're supposed to have that many yards down. Okay, let's go. What is he saying? Oh, it's muted.
No, but in the podcast world, in the investigative world, this is fascinating and interesting, and it's worthy of discussion. And it could be, hey, she just misspoke, but maybe she didn't. I mean, because again, we didn't show it there in the clip, but there's social media posts and all this other. It's a consistent claim that doesn't seem to add up. And then when you add on, and people need to go watch it for themselves. It's only an hour, and you really only got to watch about 50 minutes of it because you can skip the tweet that she read. But she's the other part of this that's not there is that, like, there's a lot of gambling, illegal gambling connections in this woman's family history.
This black man did not sit there and talk about illegal activities in black folks' families. This man did not say this in the year of our Lord 2026 with the free will. Look, I'm sorry. You did not just say that, Jason. Lisa,
and it's funny because Candace has done this herself. If you've watched any of her previous stuff, she'll try to, like, tap into, you know, like, her whole black girl thing. And she'll do this. Oh, I have so many family members that have been in prison. I've went and visited them in prison. She does that whole, like, bad girl type of thing that she tries to pull up from time to time. I've personally seen her do this on her show. So right there, she's saying she has family members that have been in prison, that she went to visit them in prison. But again, are we really holding someone accountable for every family member that has ever done something and now that's apparently your fault? No, like, that's not your fault. What are we
like,
talking about?
What are we doing here? Like, what is going on here? I just text him. I'm like, this dude is going to be mad at me. I'll meet him up there. I'll come up to Nashville and talk to him. But this is ridiculous. This is retarded, Jason. Like, there's no way we're going to sit there and pretend like there's not stuff going on in our families, or have been things in our families that we're not proud of.
Well,
and because
there's stuff that I've done that I'm not proud of. But again, I know I know that I'm a new creation in Christ, and I know that I'm not held to being that person for the rest of my life. There's this crazy thing called you can change. It's great. It's a wonderful thing. It's also part of my testimony now that the Lord has given me, right?
Yes.
It's very telling that when I talked to Zach in our conversation last week, I had to explain to him what a testimony was because he didn't know what that meant. Because I was talking about Erica's testimony and that it's a big part of her testimony that she was like this boss babe, right? And it wasn't until she met Charlie that she realized that that's not important. All this career stuff and everything was not important. It was actually getting married and having kids and building a family and all of that became important to her. And that all shifted, right? I literally had to explain to him what a testimony was. And I'm just like, oh my goodness. Okay.
And you know, I think it's interesting, and this will be my last point. We got to get back to this silly video. I do find it interesting how many people are so invested in Turning Point and Turning Point faith and what Turning Point is doing, but they themselves are not associated with the church, any kind of community. They don't even know their neighbors next door. But my goodness, in the morning, they hate Erica Kurt and her leather pants and the pyrotechnics. But they themselves don't have a church. They themselves, their pastors don't know them at all. And when you close your eyes, it's going to be your cat alongside you and Fido licking your toes. But no human even knows you. But y'all worrying me about Erica Kurt and whether or not she dabs her eyes enough. Y'all need to get your focus. Get on to something that's important, people. I think this is really telling. All right, let's go.
There's a lot of, and having a gambling history in my own family. Gambling leads to some shadiness, and it leads to bending of ethical rules. It creates, again, having.
This is why I don't think Jason Whitlock is a believer. This is why this statement right here alone, and forget all the stuff he said about, lots of other things. This is why I don't believe he is regenerated in his own heart. There is absolutely, unequivocally, no way in the world somebody who Christ has saved will look at someone's life and say, hey, Lisa, there was a lot of moonshine running in your family. And, moonshine running leads to people doing some bending, some ethical things. So, you probably killed your husband. Like,
Totally. Yeah. I mean, my family's Italian. We have mafia stuff.
Oh.
Yeah, on my mom's side, there's mafia stuff that goes way
Oh,
back
then
to like
don't-
when they were running like illegal alcohol during Prohibition and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I
Uh-oh.
guess I need to be held accountable for all of the stuff that happened way before I was ever even thought of or born, apparently.
I'm gonna send you my Cash App so you can send me some reparations,
Yeah,
because
totally.
I'm pretty sure my great-great-grandfather got run off the road, or one of your great-great-grandfathers was running from the police. And I'm pretty sure you owe me reparations, dearwokec@gmail.com. I'll make sure I send you that. This is just dumb. I'm sorry,
It's
Jason Whitlock
so
is embarrassing.
literally ridiculous.
This is bona fide retarded.
Being a recovering gambling degenerate, having grown up in a family that loves to gamble, was heavily involved in gambling, numbers, the whole 9 yards, it will bend your ethics. That is the stain of gambling. It's not a harmless endeavor. And so I just think when I was listening to this, like, I want to know, where does this all lead? And anyway, you all's react. Let me shut up. Shamika, I'm gonna let you go first, because these guys can get a little long-winded here.
I'm gonna speed her up a little bit.
Your reaction to the possible mother mix-up?
No, he's gonna
Yeah,
go to
I was
Shamika because
interested
she's
in
the only
that
one
as
that
well,
agrees with
because I was
him.
trying.
I'm sorry.
He's gonna go to Shamika because she's the only one that agrees with him. So
Right. She's
he
the
needs
only
some
one that's as confused
he
as
needs
he
some
is. Right.
backup real quick.
Right.
As Candace was talking, I was putting myself in that position and thinking about, okay, if my aunt had someone she was married to who was married to someone else before, would we, I was doing all of that in my head, and I just don't think I would refer to them as a cousin. Maybe I would, I don't know. But I think if there's
Yes.
nothing to see here, it's an easy explanation. People have heard me say my nephew was killed in 2020. The explanation to that is, although I am a single child, I'm an only child, I have a best friend. We've been best friends since we were 6 and 7 years old. Her children call me aunt just as my children call her aunt. It's a simple explanation. So I don't know why people are all up in arms as if this is just horrible. Oh my goodness. If there's nothing to hide.
But Candace is bringing it up.
Did this girl just prove our point? Does she realize that she just disproved her own point, right?
She did. No, the point, Shamika, that's what I'm saying. I think Shamika is an idiot.
She literally just disproved her own narrative. She literally proved our point, not hers. But okay, like, I'll just let her keep talking because she's doing the work for me. So,
because if we were being gracious, you know what would probably never happen? She would have never brought it up. She would have never brought this up if Candace was being gracious and said, yeah, I got weird stuff in my own family. I'm not going to do that. Lisa has a cousin, and that's not really her cousin because the person is black, but I think I know what she's saying. They're really good friends. Okay, I can get down with that. I wouldn't even have to ask questions. My best friends, I bring this up a lot. My 2 oldest best friends are Puerto Rican. You would be hard pressed to convince any of us that we're not brothers. You're wasting your time. Tony and Melvin look nothing like me. They're lighter than me by days. And guess what? We'll fight you that we're brothers. We'll argue with you for days about this. We know we're not brothers. But guess what? Guess what my kids call them? Uncle Melvin, Uncle Tony. I don't understand why this should not even be hard to understand. But this the wonderfulness of the gospel is that we can see one another as brothers and sisters without having to go through all of this lyrical gymnastics. We're in Christ. You're my brother, you're my sister. It just makes sense. But see, because these people are not regenerate, catch me outside, Jason, if you disagree. Shamika, I'll meet you wherever. they're not regenerate, they don't understand it. And they got to come up with all of this brouhaha, all of this debacle about it because it's reminiscent of their sinful state. Okay.
Then there's nothing to hide. If there's nothing to see here, there's nothing to see here. But you just explain, just like I explained why I call her children nieces or nephews, why I've said my nephew was murdered in 2020. It's really that simple. So I think that if there's nothing here, we should expect an explanation that makes sense.
Last thing, guys, before I have you all jump in, I'm going to tie it to the other piece of this before you guys respond. Let's play SOT number 8, where Candace talks about the Jack Solomon, who is Carla's husband, and their deep ties to Utah Valley University, where Charlie was murdered. Play SOT 8.
What is factual is that Jack Solomon eventually marries Carla Ronce in 2002. And there are also some other really interesting facts about Jack. Jack and Erica's mommy aunt, I don't know, Carla, live in Utah. He graduated from what is today known as Utah Valley University. He's very involved in the university. It was formerly known as Utah Valley State College when he graduated from there. He also created on their campus the Center for Jewish Studies. I mean, at the very least, you'd think with all of the money that he poured into that university, he might be able to call someone to get us more footage of Tyler Robinson. Or Carla. How about Carla? She's married to the man. She could have maybe, in my imagination, made it to the hospital when Charlie was shot and killed. I mean, why did none of them make it to the hospital? They're all so nearby. She still lives in Utah. This happened in their backyard. Their family has a lot of power at UVU. Why not Auntie Carla rather than Stacey Sheridan accompanying you onto Air Force 2 as your husband's body is escorted to Arizona? Jack Solomon was also a professor at BYU in political science. He's the former director of the university's Jerusalem Center. He also served on the Center for Jewish Studies on the board at UVU. Zion's Gate, like I said, is his dedication.
Anthony, I'm going to let you go first.
Hold on,
what do you make of that? Nothing?
Absolutely ridiculous. First of all, she's saying that Erica should be giving the explanation. Okay, if you make a claim, the burden of proof is on you as the claimant.
Facts.
This is just simple debate. If you've ever done debate, you know that if you are coming forth with a claim, the burden of proof is on you to provide proof and evidence to support and back your claim. Candace Owens has to provide proof for her claim. This is not on Erica at all. That's absurd and ridiculous, and that's not how that works. Second of all, notice how she talks about UVU. Does she provide anything to actually show proof that he's connected to UVU or any of that? Nope. She's just doing a lot of this, and no actual evidence is actually presented. You're just supposed to take her word for that, by the way. Then you add in the fact that she wants them to produce security footage. This is an investigation. This is an active investigation. She is saying that she expects members of Erica's family to break the law to give her security footage and to slip her security footage, which would be illegal for them to do. So she's literally saying she wants people to break the law to give her information. That is wild to expect someone to do that. Again, Candace Owens is not operating or living in the real world. She does not live in reality, people. This is a fantasy world that she's living in. Yeah.
No. I agree with you 100%. And part of the problem, I think, people, and when Graham Allen had the conversation with Tracy Martin talked about, she hit a lot of buttons, a lot of boxes. And one of the things is we don't know the family dynamics of these people, that just to say that they're family members and to say that they're related to Lisa, there might be a reason why cousin so-and-so and aunt this and that weren't at Lisa's side. And she just takes for granted, like, ma'am, you say they live in Utah, but were they there? Do you know this? Do you know that they're in good health? Do you know that they're in traveling conditions? Do you know what they were up to? Like, you just make it sound like when something happens, everybody should just converge, when that doesn't happen at all. And Lisa talked about that because there's a lot of situations this situation with people sitting on the tarmac for an hour, or why did her sisters and siblings not join her, and this, that, and other, that make perfect sense. But again, she doesn't want to be charitable. This is why I say Candace Owens is not a Christian. Like, I'm not saying that just to be hyperbole or to get you to, come and jump into the best live chat. But no, this is not Christian behavior that she's exuding. We're going to get done with this. Let's go.
I'm still at nothing because we're just asking questions in a tone that may say something. This person was associated with this person who happened to go here, who happened to live here, and wouldn't you know? And don't you think they would be able to do? And like we're making a lot of questions. And again, I keep going back to the tone that it's coming from. I don't receive the tone, and I'll take it as my own perspective, but I don't receive the tone that this is, hey, why would you call such and such this name? Like, that's just kind of weird. Oh, it's because of this. And then we're done. Like, we're setting up the narrative that Erica Kirk is dishonest. And so now everything is scrutinized. So then anything else that she may say, I don't know if we're going to receive as, hey, that was an honest answer because I have established you as a liar. No, we're going to connect that to anything else that she claims, no, I didn't do this, or yes, I did do this. And then Jason, we didn't want to talk about that she was a boy when she was younger. And that I can't gloss over that. Like, okay,
did she
if you're
actually
making
say
that
those
case,
words, or did?
Well, that she's had these boyish pictures and looked like a boy. Okay, are we saying that was the case? Are we just kind of bringing up this as weird?
I don't think
Again,
she said that. I
a
think
few
she
months
showed
ago,
the pictures.
she's a mother and grieving wife, but now she had these. That's why I'm saying, like, all of these things that Candace threw out were just.
You got Shamika side eyeing you, brother. She
might.
Who cares?
And again, if she's going to ask the questions, cool beans. Ask the question.
Well, what is her having a boy haircut being? And I addressed this on my ex yesterday. Her chat is saying that Erica was born a boy. Now, Candace may not have said that. That's fine. But her supporters are, in fact, saying that, which is, again, like, y'all do realize that what Candace is doing is tearing down the image of Charlie Kirk. The Charlie Kirk that you saw on stage is going to be totally different from the Charlie Kirk that Candace gets done presenting to y'all, because this guy is a fraud, a liar, weak-willed, and dare I say now gay, if he's following this logic, that he was hooked up with a man and faked marriages. I mean, faked childbirths. This is going to be crazy. Let her finish up. Go ahead, Lisa.
At the end of the day, again, it won't be long, right? Again, we've talked about how Candace allows the audience to move her in the direction that she's going, which is, again, that's not how journalism works. It should be the other way around. But she allows her audience to manipulate what she's going to talk about next.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that her audience has latched onto this whole Erica was actually born a boy thing because she went through a tomboy phase and her mom was tired of chasing her around with the hairbrush trying to brush her hair, so she chopped all of her hair off, which I think all of us had that phase. I also had one of those phases where I got my hair chopped off.
I'm still living through that phase right now.
And so literally they've latched onto that and they're talking about that in all of their threads and all of their comments and all of their things. So I say, give it a couple of days and guess where Candace Owens is going to go with this, because she allows them to move her in whatever direction she's going in. So it would not surprise me if they don't latch on if she does not end up latching onto that, because her audience has latched onto it. So no, Candace herself has not said that yet, but it's moving in that direction.
Hands down. And I'll say this again. I did a video about it. Candace's biggest op is her tip line. Everything that she's run with has come from the tip line. The Egyptian planes, the 920 building, the red cranes, fill in the blanks. All of that comes from the tip line, or her tip line or email line. That's where it comes from. So let this get into the tip line enough people say it. I guarantee she's going to find a way to give them what they want. Let's get done.
I'm wondering, we keep going back to, and I'm done with this, but we keep going back to, okay, this isn't adding up. I'm wanting to know, what would it add up to be? Like, what would it really, are we going to get to a place where Erica's going to answer, okay, let me sit down and go through every claim that Candace Owens made. This was a clerical error. They corrected it. It was in a sealed document that Candace didn't have an opportunity to see. I only call them Farfar or Marmar, whatever. I only call them that because, hey, I was for it. This was my family that I knew. I didn't understand the whole deal with divorce or whatnot. So I've always thought of them as family. I liked this haircut when I was a kid. I thought it was, are we going to, and then we'll say, well, hey, that makes sense. She's the CEO. Or will we conclude, I don't really like her as CEO. I don't really like her past. I wish I knew more about what happened to Charlie.
Virgil?
There will be if you submit yourself to the question and answer game, she will be on podcast for eternity, answering everyone's questions. And even at that, those answers will not be to the satisfaction of some. And so if I were her, I would go on about my way and do what I'm doing. I want to just say this. I'm not an Erica Kirk apologist, nor am I caping up for Erica, nor am I assigning motives to Candace. I'm simply looking at this isolated incident of this, this hour-long episode and saying there's no there. There really isn't. And I'll say this as well as it pertains to all of this. If we're going to go into the land of imagination, the land of the imaginary, I would imagine, and Candace would appreciate this, I would imagine that if you had something, you would do a Joe Rogan style show. and lay out all of what you had in 3 hours. And we could watch it, consume it, figure it out, and call it a day. But that's not what you're doing. You're monetizing this, you're dripping it out, and you're letting it play the long game for a reason. I wonder what that reason is.
Money.
Oh,
Content. That's what content creators do. She's a podcaster.
Well, it goes back to what I initially said. Behind all of this is something motivating this that's not altruistic. That's not, I just love Charlie. I just
Not
want the
journalistic.
truth.
Yeah, I hear you. Shamika, why were you were shaking your head and eye rolling? Was there something you wanted to, did you want to rebuke Pastor Anthony?
Well, because I didn't hear Candace say that Erica was a boy. I think she shared actual photos, and unless they were Photoshopped, they are pictures of
Let's play
her.
the
I
clip.
think she put it
We'll
out there
remove the
maybe
mystery.
for us to do what I did, which was rewind, because I said, did I just see what I thought I saw? It looked like a little boy to me. But then I
Hold
had
on,
to
Shamika.
remind
Hold for
myself,
a second.
as
I can
Hold
show
for a
you
second,
that
Shamika.
Erica was at school. I don't have every year yet, but I do have some years, 1995 to 1996 in first grade, 1996 to 1997 in second grade, and 1997 to 1998, which is her in third grade.
I mean, I hit rewind because I was doing something else as it was on the screen, and I said, what did I just see? But she didn't say anything about her being a boy. So I said, okay. And for myself, I reminded myself that there are pictures where my mother had me on corduroy in a button-up shirt, and I thought I looked like a boy. Had a little
that's funny because this sounds exactly like if we rewound the clock about 2.5, 3 months ago, Lisa, when we were saying that she wasn't saying, I'm sorry, when we were saying that she was accusing Erica Kirk of killing Charlie, and people were like, well, she didn't say that. She didn't say that. We're like, but she did. And now look where we are.
It doesn't really, again, when her audience is the one leading things, whatever they get in their brain, they'll start saying things, and within about a week, Candace is running that spiel on her show. It's literally happened without fail with multiple things over and over and over again. This is her pattern. She also has a pattern, if you hadn't noticed, of putting herself into the story. She always writes something about Charlie, right? Like Charlie was doing this thing, and then a couple episodes will go by, and then now Candace was also doing this thing, and now I'm a part of the narrative. It's very narcissistic behavior of they always have to write themselves into the narrative somehow. They have to be a part of it, right? Like that's another pattern that she has. So yeah, it's just so no, they are correct. Candace did not say that she was actually born a boy. At the end of the day, her audience is latching on to this, and so we're able to see pattern recognition, and we're able to be like, you know what, I know enough about how Candace operates that she is soon going to start running this narrative because her audience has already started doing it, because that's how this goes.
Absolutely. And we've seen so many patterns and examples of this that it's undeniable. We already know the play. You already know it. Matter of fact, hence why she was saying that at the hospital that Erica was born at, that they were doing body part harvesting.
Oh.
Why? Remember that's why she did that. That's why she threw it out there. So
and the Marines, and it's a Marine hospital, and the military. Now she's saying it's the U.S. military that it's all gonna come back to this child experimentation crap.
That's where it's going to.
Dry Jerry curl. So I just, it was what it was. But we can't act as if those pictures weren't real. They are what they are. Now, I don't think Erica has to play the answering games, answering all these questions. But I do think, Jason, as you said with Stephen A. Smith, if there were people around, they could say something. They could step up. They could come out. Again, if people questioned me about, hey, you said your nephew was murdered in 2020. You're an only child. What does that mean? If I didn't have the time, if I was working and taking care of my children, I would expect my best friend to step up and say, hey, we've been best friends since we were 6 and 7. That's what it is. Or if not her, someone who knows our relationship. Like, I just feel like if it's not the case, people could come out and answer these questions. The fact that we can't ask them, and we don't know what it's going to lead to. It may lead to, okay, she's a liar, but she's CEO. There's nothing else to see here, and everything is fine. Or it may continue, as Candace said, now that people want to post pictures of her employees, kids, and things like that, she may go on and on. But I just think if it's nothing, what's the big deal?
I'm gonna land the plane. We've been at this for more than an hour. I'm gonna land it.
Jason, real quick,
be a bumpy landing.
4 hours. 4 hours. Candace sat with her. I wonder how many of those questions Candace asked Erica.
Oh, I think she asked them. I honestly think she probably asked a lot of them, and she's not. But again, they probably agreed not to talk about that. But I think she probably asked a lot of those questions. I'm going to
wait. If she has an answer to the question, then why is she asking the question now? Hold on. I said I wasn't going to do it. I said I wasn't going to do it. But if she has the answer to the question, why is she asking the question now?
But I don't like little lies. When there is one lie, there's 20.
Wouldn't that be a lie? Finish up, Jason.
Plane a little bumpy here. Virgil, put your seatbelt on. I'm going, and Chad Jackson, if you're watching, put your seatbelt on. Because, we invited Chad, and Chad basically made, man, I ain't watching that mess. And I got better things to do, is what Chad told us. And
you got better
Chad,
things to do.
But Chad, I want you to understand the criticisms. If we roll the clock back to the 1960s, why are you asking these questions about MLK? What you mean, MLK? You're insinuating he's cheating on his wife. You're insinuating that he's playing with the gospel and playing with it. Don't you? It's MLK. He's above reproach. How could you ask these questions? Blah, blah, blah. And Chad's making a living asking very appropriate questions about MLK. And when you ascend to the kind of power that Erica Kirk has, with far less qualifications than MLK, and I'm not even saying MLK had great qualifications, but there's some questions that's going to come along with that, and people are going to be pissed at you for asking the questions. But you got to soldier through it if things aren't adding up. And that's where I didn't bring it out, Virgil, but today, but she, like this weird school that she went to as a kid. Why do all these people go to these little weird schools with and Candace said it, don't blame me, but like the Jewish handlers at these schools that had something through the looking glass and all this other stuff. It just, when I look at Stephen A. Smith and he's got this weird, I left New York to go down to Winston-Salem, North Carolina, to get a basketball scholarship and all this made up stuff. There's a blueprint to these people that are installed in these powerful positions. There's always some sketchiness to them. And Virgil, you're arguing that we're skeptical of institutions. I'm skeptical of anybody in pursuit of power. Very skeptical. Yeah. Because when you truly believe that God is your sole and only provider, you're not in desperate pursuit of power. Yeah. You're in desperate pursuit of Jesus coming back and waiting on him. And I've been I think it's Maverick City Music that's got this. I listen to it virtually every day now, and I don't know why the title, but it was right before I started watching Candace. I was listening to Wait on You, Chandler Moore and Dante Bowe, and and I used to not understand the whole wait on you mindset. I used to criticize, but you gonna wait on God for some things you can do. I used to be that kind of an idiot. And anyway, thank you guys. I think this has been a tremendous harmony.
All right, I'm gonna end it right there.
I need Anthony, since he's still here, to pray us out of here and pray these demons off of me and Shamik.
All right, I'm gonna end it right there because what'd you think, Lisa? Give me your overall.
The irony of him talking about Jesus coming back and the way that he just talked about the Jewish people and Israel, and the way that all of these people, and it all stems from Candace, and of course it's just bleeding out into all of her supporters and her little minions and whatever. But this level of anti-Semitism that we're seeing, this is all biblical, right? This is all prophetic from the Bible. This level of anti-Semitism that is just, again, we've all seen it just in the last 2 years. It has gone from, like, it is still rising. It is just getting worse and worse. And we know that it's going to get worse. It's not going to get better. There is a spiritual element for everything that we see in the physical. There is a spiritual thing that is happening behind it, right? At least that's what I believe. And that's what scripture tells us. And so many of these people are engaged in this. It is a demonic spirit. This anti-Semitism that we're seeing, it is absolutely fueled by a demonic spirit. And I do think that it is one of the number one ways that we know that I think that Jesus is on his way back. The level of anti-Semitism that we're seeing is, I think, the biggest teller of where we're at on the biblical timeline, so to speak. But all that to say, like, they're literally committing, like, what Paul in Romans 11, he warns you. He warns you that you have been grafted in as a Gentile. And he says not to hate the Jews. And he says, like, he literally, he reminds us that we are all responsible for putting Jesus on that cross. It was not just the Jews. All of our sin is what put him on the cross. And he literally gives a warning. do not lash out at the Jews and attack them. He says, because ultimately, again, you are all responsible. All of us, all of our sin is responsible for this. It is not just them. So don't make this mistake. And he warns them. He warns them in Romans 11. And every single one of these Candace supporters, I'm just like, you guys are literally committing Romans 11. He's literally warning you not to do the very thing that you're doing right now. And it's so hard to watch people like do this. I mean, we know, again, I know that it's going to get worse. The Bible tells us it's going to get worse, but it doesn't make it any easier to see it all come to fruition, right?
Absolutely. No, I want to, I appreciate it, Lisa. Thank you so much. And I'm going to follow after him. I'm going to start landing this plane because I got to pick up Chief Executive Second Born from school. But I do want to point out that this entire thing was an attempt to sanitize the foolishness that was Candace's quote unquote investigation. Everybody knows that this is garbage. Everybody does. Even the most ardent Candace supporter knows it. What the heck am I doing? They know this is stupid. They know it, but they like, whether maybe you just like gossip. Maybe you hate Erica for whatever reason. You don't like Charlie. It's interesting. All of Candace's supporters are either leftists, the part of the alphabet mafia, dyed-in-the-wool Democrats, or Islamists. Like, you don't see any biblically sound people that support Candace. I just want you to, and again, my name is Jason, dearwokec@gmail.com. Explain to me biblically how you support Candace. I would love to see it. Not just vibes and feelings, but give me a biblical refutation of my position that Candace is not a Christian. But let me continue. So it's just funny, but they know that this is foolishness. They know, like, oh man, we're just going to, I just want to go muckrake. I just want to pull up as much foolishness and stir up as much silt as we can. And that's all she's doing. That's all she's doing. That's why she's slow. And it's funny because Shamika even said she's slow walking us. Like, you know that this is going to go on. She's going to drag this on for as long as she can get out of it. As long as she can get y'all to keep tuning in, she's gonna keep doing it. It's wild work, though.
Yeah. I mean, I have a video that I'm working on. I'm going to release it later today. But when they were saying that there was a coordinated paid attack on Candace, remember that was going all over the place?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting there looking at, I'm literally going, the source material is the Bible, guys. It's God's word. It's scripture. So
That's
yes,
true.
all of us are pulling from scripture, because it's not like this is a gray area. The Bible is very clear on how you are to treat widows and fatherless children. It is very straightforward. He is very precise and very clear on, he's also very clear on gossip and slander, especially
Absolutely.
division within the body of Christ when it comes to a fellow brother and sister in Christ. And division within the brethren is literally one of the things that God says that he hates the most. It's in Proverbs. And so at the end of the day, I'm sitting there being like, oh, this is a coordinated attack. I'm like, no, the source is literally the Bible. Like,
Right.
The Bible tells us how to handle these things. And so, yes, we're calling her behavior evil and demonic and like, because it is. And like scripture literally tells us how to handle these things and how to attack these things. And so at the end of the day, I'm like, yeah, it is a coordinated attack because the source material is literally the Bible. What are we talking about?
And I don't think they think about that. And well, I think it flies over their heads because so many are, again, they're not believers. They want to argue from a position of weakness. They want to argue from a position that I'm not going to argue from a position of weakness. Why would I do that when I can just look at the scripts? The scripts do exactly what it's supposed to be doing, pointing this out and making sense of the world that we're in. I'm going to pull up Proverbs 6:16 for us real quick as we get ready to round these bases. So yeah, I just think that's some pretty wild work, man. I'm pretty disappointed in Jason Whitlock, but I'm not really surprised. I really shouldn't be. So, and honestly, I guess I'm not really surprised because he's biblically illiterate. And I'm sorry, Shamika, was no better. I mean, the fact that you find value in this right here should tell you everything that we need to know. Pull this in very quickly. We got that Proverbs 6:16 popping in. And I'm going to do this and we're going to get out of here. I do want to check out these supers. Thank y'all so much for popping in with us today. Lisa, thank you so much for hanging in with us. Now, you're very active on X. Am I correct? Is that where the best way to find you?
TikTok and X are the two that I use the most. Yeah.
TikTok.
I
She
actually
up on
started all of this on TikTok and then it got drug over to X. And so I just started recently like posting more on X, but TikTok is where a lot of people will know me from.
I got you. So Proverbs 6:16 through 19. And you know, when Candace did her little Blues Clues retardation, just look at this and just watch it and you tell me, does any of this sound like her? There are 6 things the Lord hates, 7 that are an abomination to him: haughty eyes, a lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that devises wicked plans, feet that make haste to run to evil, a false witness who breathes out lies, and one who sows discord among brothers.
Amen.
I think there's only
right
one that
there.
we can honestly say, I don't think Candace has done. I think there's only one. In all
hopefully
fairness.
she has not shed innocent blood, but all of the other ones, she's literally hitting every single target on all of the rest.
Wholesale. Like she's doing it wholesale, y'all. I mean, there's no other way around it. She's not going to beat those charges. This is what she does. But thank y'all so much, y'all. Real quick, I want to say again, thank you to my guests. If you could, please, the moderators, please drop Lisa's X as well as her TikTok on so we can make sure we go and support her and see what she's up to. Thank you so much, Rage Bronson. Candace doesn't have a link, doesn't have to link anything to 910. That's not what her audience wants. They just want her to find weird things that Erica and others. Her audience already has their conclusion. I should say that one to the end. Thank you so much, Bronson, for the 10. Thank you so much, Gail, right here with the 5. Could there be an unconscious bias on Jason's part concerning Erica? I think there's absolutely I think Jason is very biased to Erica Kirk for a lot of reasons. And he's kind of talked about him before, but I do think Jason Whitlock does have a lot of bias. What if Candace can't leave Nashville because of George? I don't know. Thank you for the 2. Because I did think it was interesting. Erica went to Nashville. Why is it that Candace didn't leave? Is she under house arrest, you think? I'm not going to start the rumor that she's on house arrest.
I think she's just lazy.
Well, there's that too. I am going to start the rumor that CJ is epic. Thank you so much for blessing 5 people with memberships. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much for that. If you got a membership from CJ, please make sure you tell him thank you. Put his name on it. All right, what we got here? Kaylee says this with a 20. Thank you so very much. She says this: am I the only one confused here? Who gives out all of the entitlement to demand any information regarding Erica? Did any of these people even care who she was before Baroness Farmer started her jealousy rage? Praying for Erica Kirk. I don't think they did. Let's just. Do you agree with her there, Lisa?
No.
Wait. You don't? You think they did care?
Or yes. No, I
okay.
don't think. Sorry, I'm tired. I apologize. My brain
No
is
problem. I totally get it. Thank you so much. And becoming a brand new member. Thank you so much, Kaylee. What does Irene of the Brit over in the US say to the 5? Candace doesn't want to uncover truth. She wants to push conspiracies and exploit her friend's death. There you go. That's that moving that goalpost that we were talking. I'm sorry, not moving the goalpost, but moving the starting point back for sure. Slayer says this: so far, Candace's Erica Kirk series has been a nothing burger. I'm just going to correct you. It's been a nothing buffet. It's been a buffet of nothing.
Yeah.
And then we got here. Thank you so much. DDS with the 20 memberships. My goodness, man, you blessing a whole bunch of folk. You filling it up. If you got a membership from DDS Allen, please make sure you say thank you. Shout out for sure. Thank you. And we're going to finish up this here. Slander is not scrutiny. I'll add that slander is not journalism either. And just asking questions and saying something's weird. It's weird. That's not journalism. And it's weird that it's sad that Jason Whitlock gave her duck and cover on that. What does Biden's victim with the 5 say? Y'all don't figure out Candace wanted to be Charlie's wife. Oh, no, we said that. She's jealous of Erica. That's it. I've said that. I remember when I did the video about that, everybody came at me because they said I was wrong. Because I was telling a story about these two women that wanted the same man. I told a story about that, and now everybody believes it now. I'm like, see, I told you I wasn't crazy. And Candace doesn't want to uncover. I just said that. Bang. Thank you so much, darling. Her mom cut her hair, so she's barely trims it now. Okay, there we go. Is that a bad thing? I've never had to worry about getting my hair cut, as you can tell. Willie Doc, this is another one of my brothers. This is one of my brothers right here. And I think my daughter called him when she met him. When she first met him, I think she called him Mr. Willie and his wife. I think so. Thanks. I think she did. Or maybe call him uncle, if I'm not mistaken. Thanks for tackling this and giving a counter perspective. Thank you, friend. And then lastly, Mike says this with the 10. The truth always led to repentance when recognized. There's nothing that Candace presents that would lead Erica to need repentance. Come on. We can present plenty of examples where she could have, where this could happen for Candace Owens. You're right on the button, Mike. And then lastly, thank you so much. My spirit to you with the 10. We're dangerously close to not being able to trust human information with this nonsense. Social media is incentivizing on growth, not truth. Until that changes, Candace and those like her will not. Oh man, that's great. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank y'all so much for tapping in with us. Lisa, thank you so much for doing this. I know it was a little bit longer than we anticipated, but I appreciate you nonetheless.
Good. I gotta go eat though. I had coffee on an empty stomach, and so now I'm like, I need to go eat something.
I want you to get it. I'm gonna give you the heave ho so you can go do that. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, Lisa. Have a great day.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. Have a wonderful day, guys. Thank you.
Take care, friend. All right, that was LisaKnows over there on Twitter as well as TikTok. Check her out. I appreciate it. Everybody, I appreciate y'all. I think I'm still glitching. I might be glitching out. I think I am. Anyway, I'm going to get ready to go pick up my daughter from school. Y'all have a great rest of the day. We will see you all. I think I got 2 videos dropping later on today, but check them out. Go check them out. If you did like this video, please leave me some comments. Let me know what you thought about it. Give me your 2 cents, all that kind of good jazz. I really do appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed already, go ahead and subscribe. Help your brother out. I'm still on my march to hit 100,000 by the end of April, and I'm getting close. We're getting there for sure. Everybody, thank you so much. Have a great rest of the day. I'll see you real soon. Grace and peace. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Jay Whitt Podcast. If you enjoyed today's show, please do me a favor and hit me up with that 3-piece special. Like the video, subscribe, and of course, share it with somebody who would also enjoy this type of content. And make sure you leave a comment because I do pin the best comments to the top. So thank you so much for tuning in today. And until next time, everybody, grace and peace.